Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this reflection on the Ice Age saga, we should now call it, as there are 5 movies, with myself and Louie B, who we haven't seen in these hangouts for a while. Welcome back.
Hello. Thanks for having all 3 of me on.
No worries. So we'll be talking about all 28, all 5 Ice Age films. So let's start where it starts. Ice Age 1. What do you think of the first one, Louis?
Well, the first one is a very good film in my opinion.
Clearly the best of the 5.
It came out in 2002, right?
Yes.
So I was 3 at the time. So I don't really have as strong memories of this film, like it being in the cinema and stuff, as I do with the others. But I remember growing up, it was a film I always liked to watch. Like I was a big fan. I am still a big fan of Pixar, and used to be a big fan of DreamWorks. So like this was like the only film that wasn't like a big animation, a big CG animated film that I was a fan of that wasn't part of that, like Pixar or DreamWorks. So it always stood out to me. I really like the characters in this film. The story's great. The animation is very dated now, but back then it was good. I have fond memories of having it on VHS and now on DVD. I don't have as much of a nostalgia feel to this film because I wasn't really there when it came out in cinema. I was too young to remember.
But it still made an impact on you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I remember when the second one came out, I used to watch this film like every day religiously. It was a great film to watch. I remember watching it in school a lot as well. Like this was always a film at school. If you get to pick a film at the end of the year and you had to vote on it, Ice Age would always win. Where do we start with this film? The characters. You have Sid, who's a sloth who's just been abandoned by his family.
As a list.
Yeah, he has a lisp. And laugh. But no, I love Sid. He's a lovable idiot. He's helped. He he's very stupid, but in a sense he's very clever as well because he like they say in the second film, he's a glue that keeps the herd together.
He made the herd, really.
Yeah, it's like his kindness and stupidity,
Yeah.
like it makes you love him. Like you just feel sorry for him, but at the same time he's kind of
Love me.
oh god. He's kind of like the big child of the herd, really, and then you get the stubborn, cold exterior of Manfred, aka Manny, the woolly mammoth. In this film, he's
Damaged.
yeah, he's damaged. Like everyone else is migrating, he's practically trying to kill himself by going into the Ice Age. Instead of migrating, he's just going to stay in the cold and freeze to death. But luckily, he meets Sid, and they go on this epic quest to return this baby back to its parents. But yeah, you find out later on in the film that you find out why Manny's like that because sadly he lost his family to these hunters, and it's a really nice moment, probably the most emotional moment in the whole franchise. Actually,
Yeah.
go into a cave and they see the cave paintings. Yeah, and you kind of see the whole story of what happened, but they don't give too much away. Like not like they don't go back and have a flashback sequence. It's kind of you get brief shots from the paintings.
Like they don't use dialogue to tell the backstory. They use his reaction as well as it was actually kind of scary. Actually, when I was younger, I felt very scared.
Yeah, I remember watching it as a kid and just like I understood, but at the same time I didn't really understand. It was kind of the fact that it's quite dark lighting and he's this character who's quite strong and doesn't really care. Like I think he even has tears in his eyes. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
it's quite scary to see that.
What makes it for me is when he looks then at the baby and then holds him up and hugs him. I mean, it's almost that metaphorical thing of the son he never had. Almost,
definitely.
Yeah, and it's very symbolic in that sense. But obviously, Manny will later go on to rebuild his family, as we see in the sequels. But for that, I agree that for this first film, that was a poignant moment. And also, I think that's the first time sort of Sid and Diego realize his emotional loss.
Yeah, and I think it kind of helps the audience because although he does save Sid from the rhinos at the beginning of the film, apart from that, you kind of think, oh, this guy's a bit of a jerk. Like, he doesn't let Sid sleep in the shack he builds when it starts raining in Hailstorm. So you're like, oh, what? This guy's a bit of a jerk. And like, he doesn't, at first, he doesn't want to help save the baby. But then you kind of realize why. Because...
I'm trying to get rid of the last thing I saved.
Yeah. It's like, that baby's family, maybe not that baby's family, but the baby species killed his family, took everything away that he loved. So why should he help them? And I think that's kind of the meaning of the film, like, and it's summed up so well in that scene. Like, Manny goes to touch the picture of the baby mammoth, his son or daughter or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And he puts his trunk out, and as he goes to touch it, the baby puts his hand on it.
Oh yeah, that.
And it's kind of eerie because it's kind of like he can't touch it because the humans have taken them away, and it's kind of like the baby touches it as if to say like, it's gone. Like, we've taken it. The man's taken it.
I think
at the same time, it's kind of symbolic to say that it's a child. You can't take it out on a child.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think also.
Sorry, he sees the baby is kind of like you said, like the son he never had, and kind of like a fresh start kind of thing.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. Also, it was just what I got from it was Manny's realization that just because bad things have happened doesn't mean everybody is responsible, and the baby has given him hope.
Yeah.
The baby has almost brought him back to life, and he really cares for this kid, you know, who he's trying to save. And, you know, what I also admire about Manny is that he's brave. You know, we see it continue in the sequels, but in the first movie, you know, he's loyal, he's brave. I mean, you're not quite sure where he stands at first, but having met, you know, Sid and Diego and the baby, the baby brings them together really, and they all bond really well. I mean, obviously Sid is part of that as well, but I think Diego is a very interesting character in this.
Yeah, Diego is
conflicted,
kind of the villain of the film, in a way, in a sense. He starts off as a villain. Him and his pack are planning to kill the baby as revenge for the humans killing their pack, and it's kind of like a reverse to Manny. Yeah. Manny's family were killed by the humans, but instead of him seeking revenge, he's actually helping the baby, whereas Diego's pack, their members have been killed by the humans, but they want to like fight fire with fire and take revenge. I think that's kind of the moral of the story. Like, you have to, one of the morals of the story is like you have to forgive in order to move on, and you need to. Yes. Like, everyone's different, and being different is okay, and you might not look like the perfect herd or family, but it doesn't matter as long as you all care for each other.
I love the part when he says, "You two are a bit of an odd couple. There is no us."
And that's kind of like the moral of the story of the sequels as well. It's about family, and as the sequels go on, they gain new members of the herd from Ellie, Granny, blah blah blah.
Hey, one scene which really touched me was it was a very intense scene when the tigers raid the camp. And then the mother tries to protect the baby, and then she dives off the waterfall. And then in the next day, we see her sort of push the baby to shore, and then Manny takes it, and it's, you know, it's her. I mean, she unfortunately letting go, and then we never see her. We obviously just assume that she's died, but we don't see it. I always found that very powerful, and I think it works that we don't see her. Also, the music for that is really good, and it almost you know, because the humans don't talk in this, which I find very ironic, but it works. In this instance, it works, and particularly with moments like that, you know, when she's handing the baby over and Manny takes it with his trunk, and he doesn't quite know what to believe at first, I think, because he's seeing, he's seeing a newborn of the species that hurt him in the past. So I suppose he's not really sure what to think.
Yeah, I think that's why he says to Sid, like, I'm leaving it. Like, he kind of walks off, and it's actually Sid who picks up the baby, and he's like, you can't just leave him if you've just saved his life.
Yeah, I love the bit when Sid's trying to climb the wall as well.
Yeah. And, like, I think, because Manny's desperate to get rid of Sid at this point, But I think deep down he kind of wants Sid to stay because I think his inner demons are like taking over him at this point because he's lost everything and he's gonna just go freeze to death. But I think Sid's kind of the voice of reason. He's kind of, although he makes out that he hates Sid and just wants to like get rid of him, he still sticks around when he could have left. So I think he's kind of he's very confused at this point. And obviously you meet Diego then, and Diego's trying to con them into giving him the baby.
Manny can see right through it. He doesn't trust Diego. And one of my favorite lines is, "Oh, the big bad Tiggy Wiggy gets left behind. Poor Tiggy Wiggy." Sid, Tiggy Wiggy's going to lead the way.
He's like, "Help me!" Yeah, that's a great moment.
Yeah, but I also think Diego's change of heart is very well done. Like the way he sort of his loyalties change. Once he sees how this baby, he sort of realizes these humans aren't actually that bad. Why are we killing them? This baby is he's full of life. Why would we want to take that away? And I mean, you can tell there's a moment when they almost reach half peak and Diego stops in the snow and he's thinking about what he's doing. And, some of his pack are watching him arrive. I don't know if you remember that bit, when they're in the blizzard.
Yeah, no. And he makes them go into that little cave thing and he tells them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
The reveal, yeah.
Mm.
And you can see, like, as he tells them, he's kind of... He doesn't want to tell them, but he knows he has to because he's promised his pack that they can kill Manny as well. And I think at this point, after... I think also the experience of the Manny's backstory being revealed, I think that's kind of... It made the herd stronger because they kind of have history of each other, like they know each other's pasts, and I think the fact that he opened up, and also there's a scene before that where Manny kind of gives his life in order to save Diego. Luckily, Manny survives.
Yeah, on that bit with the river of lava. Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of he pushes Diego out the way, and kind of in doing so, he breaks the ice and falls into this pit of lava. But the steam pulls him back up, so he survives. But he's like, "That's what you do." He's like, "Why did you do that? You just risked your life for me." And he's like, "That's what you do." Sorry, go on.
Yeah. He says, "You could have died trying to save me," and he says, "That's what you do in a herd. Look out for each other."
Yeah, and I think that he kind of realizes that his pack would never risk their lives for each other. Like no one would risk their life for him.
If I risk it all.
Oh God, no! Don't give them ideas for Ice Age 6. No.
If we risk it all. Oh dear.
Ham and cheese.
Oh, we'll get to the ham and cheese later. Make sure it's grilled.
Oh God! Talking about characters, we've forgot to mention probably the most important character in the whole franchise, the god of the franchise.
Scrat.
Yeah, Scrat and his acorn. They have if it wasn't for Scrat and his acorn, we wouldn't. This film there would be no Ice Age because he kind of triggers the Ice Age in pursuit of his acorn. The second film he causes the meltdown. I'm pretty sure he causes something. I'm pretty sure he discovers the dinosaurs in the third film.
Causes everything, to be honest.
Fourth film he causes the Continental Drift. In the fifth he causes the universe.
The asteroid to come.
Yeah, as well as like aligning the universe, giving us a moon, destroying life on Mars.
Yeah.
There's nothing the squirrel rat can't do.
All for his one acorn.
The thing is, you've got to admire him for his persistence. Like he never gives in, no matter what life throws at him, how much pain he endures. He'll do anything.
Yeah, and I love the fact that all he does is yell. He doesn't speak.
Yeah, and I love the fact that watching commentaries and things and behind the scenes, he was only meant to be in the first film. Like the first sequence we see him in, that was it. Just to so they needed a way to start the movie, but he was so popular in test audiences, they kept him, and I'm really glad they did because I kind of like his cutaway scenes.
Yeah, it's something random and interesting, like.
Yeah, it's like whenever the plot is getting really intense, you cut away, so it kind of you're not getting bored of the story. It makes it less predictable as well, because you don't really know what's happening.
And it's a mini film in itself. I mean, very rarely do the Scrat ever come across the main characters. I mean, he does a few times in the series, but not often. But it's
He's never part of the pack. They don't go like he's not part of the herd, and they don't they don't really interact with him. Like I think the first film is the only one where they actually like speak to him, but like and they ask for directions. But
and at the very end of the second film, when Sid saved his life, and then the third movie, at the very start, he falls down, and then he ends up in the little chase sequence at the beginning when they're when they think Ellie is about to give birth, but obviously she doesn't.
But they don't really speak. Like this is the only instance I can think of in the film franchise that actually like tried to make contact with him, like speak to him like as a herd. I know Sid in the second film saves him, but this is like one of the rare occasions that they're all together.
Yeah.
But no, this film has a lot of meaning.
Also, can I ask you? Sorry to interrupt you. What do you think of the villains? I mean, you know, one of the tigers is also voiced by Jack Black. Funnily enough.
Yeah, I knew that. The
Zeke, I think his name is.
Yeah, that I can't remember all their names now. It's been so long. Is it like one of them's called like Soto or something?
Soda, I think he's the main one.
Yeah, the pack leader.
The others are just sort of there, but yeah.
I like the villains in this film. I think it works, and I think it works that Diego is technically a villain. He's got like a double agent. I kind of like the way.
Time though, I don't think they get enough screen time, but.
I think they get more than. I think they get their fair share. I think if they're in it too much, it would kind of take away from the main plot, because you have the humans as well. Not that they're villains, but they're.
Yeah.
You get drawn out with the. I think like it has the right balance. Because I think if they're in it too much, it would take away Diego kind of having to. Because the whole thing with Diego is he's basically having to pretend to be friends with these guys, who he's eventually going to kill.
Yeah.
The more time he bonds with them, the harder it gets.
Yeah.
If he kept like meeting up with his pack or whatever, it'd be easy.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that, but I mean just individual.
No, I know what you mean, but I'm saying like it would feel a bit weird if they just randomly turned up on their own. So I'm kind of happy with the amount of time they get. I think they're probably the best villains of the franchise.
Yeah, that's saying something.
But I don't really think it they could have done more. I kind of like their ending as well. I like the fact they don't all die.
Soda's death is quite brutal. The stalactites coming down. That
was I kind of like that. He deserved it. It kind of showed that's what Diego would have turned into. This kind of
killer.
Yeah, no second chances.
Also, it's noteworthy to mention Diego's sacrifice as well at the end when he jumps in front of Maddie to save him.
Yeah, and originally that was it. He was dead, and then test audiences again wanted him to come back at the end.
Too dark.
Yeah, because originally I don't know if you knew, but Ice Age, the script was a dark adult film. Like they wanted, Blue Sky wanted to do it without any comedy and do it as a dark, straight animation, but the investors wanted it to be a comedy, so they had to change it. And I think this is why this film is so serious compared to the others.
Yeah, I mean, it has its comedy, and the comedy is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like the main plot was taken from the original script, so I think that's why it's so realistic as it is. There's no dinosaurs. There's no meteorites. Well, there is a UFO, but yeah, that's one of my favourite sequences actually. Whenever I watch the film, I quite like the ice museum scene. I think that's what it's called.
Oh yeah, and when they go sliding down the ice as well, and when
like trying to catch the baby.
On, baby. And I just love that chase. The music to go with it is great, and you can just see Diego and Manny trying to slide each other, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I kind of like Sid wandering off and he sees dinosaur. Like, if you watch that scene, they take a lot from the sequels from that scene. I know they confirmed they got the idea for Collision Course from that scene with the UFO because it's the same one. But they also have a dinosaur there, so it hints at Dawn of the Dinosaurs. There's a fish that kind of hints at the Meltdown.
Guys.
It's a very funny scene, and also as a kid, another scene I always enjoy, and to this day I still enjoy, is the lava sequence again. It's very intense. I love the bit where it's like, oh, I wish I could jump like that, and then Manny's just like kicks it. He's like, wish granted.
Wish granted. And Sid's screaming.
Like,
Sid's scream is hilarious.
It's great. I also like the scene where Manny bonds with the baby. He kind of like puts him up a tree, and he's like, go away, like being quite Manny-ish, like doesn't really care, and then he kind of bonds with the baby. A scene that I used to like, that when I rewatched it the other day I didn't really enjoy it as much, was the dodo scene. I'm not sure if that's because I've seen it so many times now, or just because it just felt a bit silly and unrealistic compared to the rest of the film.
I liked it. I mean, it was.
I do like it. I think it's hilarious and one of the most memorable moments of the film. But to me, I always thought just rewatching it, it was kind of odd because I thought the first film was. I know it sounds really stupid to say realistic because it's an animated film about mammals from the Ice Age, but I kind of used to think that one, the first one, was more serious, and the sequels it got ridiculous. But the whole dodo thing, I think that kind of made me like the sequels a bit more, on the fact that it wasn't as disconnected to the sequels than I thought, if that makes sense. Like,
yes.
So it's good. I kind of like how they think. I kind of like nut jobs, and they think that these 4 melons will survive. Or make the whole species survive.
When Sid grabs the melons, that's
it's in like slow motion.
Dramatic. The bit when he dives is great, and then he just smashes it at the end. It's just great.
Like, Sid, now we gotta get more food. And the baby just like eats the watermelon.
I also love the scene when they're trying to, calm the baby down when he's crying, and
where's the baby? There he is.
And then they're all arguing, and I love that. It's funny.
Yeah, it is a good scene. Like, this film is probably. I love the montage as well. It has that really weird song, and yeah, that's probably like the.
When I hear that song, I always think of Ice Age.
Yeah, same. I wish they used it in the sequels, but it's a shame they didn't. But I love that sequence. I like ice skating, and Sid's throwing snowballs at Manny, and he's like blaming it on the baby, and then like Manny throws a massive one at Sid.
Yeah. I mean, it's also, it's a short film. It's not particularly long, but I think it's definitely the most grounded of all of the 5 films.
It just has a simple plot, but with deep emotion.
Yeah, like that's the thing the sequels didn't understand, that less is more in this case, and it works.
I think some of the sequels get it, but
yeah, I suppose.
I would say the second film is probably the best follow-up, but we'll get onto that when we get onto that.
Yes.
But
so, what do you think of the music score of the film?
I really like this film. The score for this film. I think it fits. It kind of has a prehistoric feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
The theme, which I don't know the name of the theme, and I can't even remember. It's weird. It's one of those themes that I can't remember what it sounds like until I hear it.
Yeah.
The one that's featured in Collision Course.
Yeah.
Kind of so whenever the baby's on, they play it. That to me just as soon as I hear it, I kind of think about cavemen in the first film.
It's like da 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 da. That's the
yeah.
That's the Collision Course version of it, but yeah, I think it's a very beautiful piece, and the music is very complimentary.
It's kind of like fluty music. It gives it that caveman kind of vibe. That makes, because they used to. I know cavemen had like flutes and stuff. They used bones, of like dead mammoths. So probably Manny's family were used for that. But no, I I like that music. Also, like we said, the song, the dun 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 dun, that song, I think that it, it's so weird, and I don't even know if there's lyrics to it. There are lyrics, but it's in another language. I don't think it's English. I think bits of it are in English, but again, that kind of has that prehistoric feel, that kind of
Well, that theme.
yeah, that again is a great. I just love I just wish in sequels it was used more.
Yeah,
Although I do like the music in the sequels,
yeah,
especially the Meltdown.
yes,
I would have liked them to. It kind of feels like separate, like everything bar Ice Age, and I can kind of include Collision Course because they use the theme from the first film. The like the Meltdown, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, and Continental Drift. It kind of feel like separate films in the fact that there's no connection other than characters.
yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, the title obviously being Ice Age.
Yeah, yeah, obviously, but I mean like the music, the theme's different,
Yes.
but that's just me. I mean, what do you think of this film?
Before I move on to what I think, what would you rate it out of 10?
That's a hard one. For me, this film is just as good as top-rated films like Toy Story. In fact, I would pick this over Toy Story any day. Films like Finding Nemo, big like it's to me, it's right up there with the best of animated films. It's got a great story, great voice cast. For its time, it was great animation, and although it looks pretty dated today, it's not totally bad. Like you could still watch it and enjoy it. It has a great moral. Overall, it's quite an uplifting film. Great family film. Great comedy. So for me, I would give it 10 out of 10. And I know a lot of people would probably give it less, and I know a lot of people that would give it 10 out of 10. But for me, it's just up there with the greats. And yeah, so 10 out of 10 from me.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there's not much I can add to that. Ice Age is one of those films. Whenever it was on, I loved it. I mean, it's fantastic. It used to be on ITV quite a lot, and I remember watching when I was younger. Used it occasionally get takeaway, and my family would put it on TV. We'd watch it. We'd just have a laugh. I mean, it's such a great film. I mean, yes, the animation arguably is very dated by this point, but I still think it holds up.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it looks a bit blocky, like sort of chunky, but I think for the time it was really good. I just think what it does so well is that it tells a simple story, and it does it so well with its heart is in the right place, and that's why the sequels just don't hold up. Is because there's too much going on. There's an overabundance of everything, and they let things get ridiculous. And as I said, less is more, and with this film, that is very much the case. I think all three of the main characters are developed very well, the best they ever have been for the series in this film. Manny's story is very heartwarming and emotional, and I mean, I don't want to go into it because otherwise we'll be repeating ourselves, but basically I agree with everything you said about sort of that scene with the mural, which is probably the best scene of the franchise. It could arguably be the best scene of the franchise. And his connection with the baby is very symbolic to his past and also symbolic to Diego's heart as well. How he has actually changed his heart. I mean, they kind of make Diego a bit soft in the sequels, but we'll get onto that in a bit. But I think I think his story is also very interesting. How he changes sides. He grows to care for this baby as well. As I've said, I like the scenes. There's just powerful scenes here. Like so when the mother dies and she hands her baby over to Manny and Sid. That and the music is great for that. When Diego sacrifices himself, that's a great scene at the end. I'm glad he didn't die. Thank God for that.
I think they're glad they didn't. They wouldn't have as much potential for sequels.
Yeah. So I'm not really too sure how I feel about the villains. The Tigers, I like them. They're probably the best of the franchise, but again, that's not saying much. But yeah, I think for what they have to do, they're fine. You know, they're fine. But there's no major issues with them. They, you know, the Dodo scene makes me laugh. The comedy's brilliant. I think the comedy's great. It's the best written of the Ice Age films, and it's the funniest of the 5. I would say completely. I love Sid the Sloth with his list. Yeah, that's he's just fantastic, and he's really the true heart to these films. He's kind of an idiot, as you said, but he's a lovable idiot. He's kind of a doofus, but we all love him for it. And Diego and Manny both change because of Sid, really. I mean, and Sid brings the herd together. He's really the instigator of all this. But that's great, and he's the one that suggests to go and save the baby and return it. And I mean, Sid's determination is something I really admire. He's a funny character as well. I think John Leguizamo voices him really well, and with the lisp is just a little thing that adds to the comedy. I think, and I mean, he goes on to be incredibly funny in the sequels as well. The direction I think is also great by I think Chris Wedge directs the film. I don't know what other films he's done, but he voices Scrat as well, which is very funny. The direction I think is great, and it's, you know, it feels just as realistic as a normal, you know, drama. The fact that it's obviously set with mammals, that you know, that's fine. You know, I still think that's great. It's a nice contrast. It kind of juxtaposes that very nicely. With the story, the themes of the story, they're able to convey great drama. This is the most dramatic of the series by far, and because of that, the sequels have never lived up to it. I mean, you've got the Scratch scenes as well, which are just hilarious. I mean, his constant pursuit of the acorn is something to be admired. I mean, the fact that he's still doing this 5 films in is something to be marveled at. And also, we forgot to mention the ending of the film is very funny, like 20,000 years later.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how that works in terms of the continuity of the series, whether that means that scene takes place after everything that happens in 2, 3, 4, and 5 and the future films. I don't know, but I assume that's what would happen.
Yeah, I think that's how it works.
But it never really gets explained. But
Yeah.
you know what? It doesn't matter. It's fine. I love the music score. The music is terrific. And the voice cast are great. They all do a great job. I think the rhinos are really funny. I like
the last dandelion.
a dandelion. Yeah. And look, Carl, easy, Frank. And when Sid pretends to be dead in Diego's mouth, that's funny.
Oh, that is really funny.
Oh, what's that noise there? It was like a...
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, no, I didn't hear a noise.
Alright, there's some kind of rustling going on. I don't know what's going on, but...
Oh, it's quite quiet where I am. Dun, dun, dun.
Boom. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, I'll just try and carry on over the noise. Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful film, and yeah, like you have some really powerful scenes, and the baby is cute as well. The baby's quite cute. It's a very lovely film, and I think it's one that stayed with me. I mean, I don't know if I have as deep a connection to it as you, but I would still say it's a very good film, and easily the best of the series by far. So I'm not going to say too much more because we've already talked about quite a lot of it. So I will say that I will give Ice Age I'm gonna move it up a rating because I think I was a bit harsh on it in my review. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 this time. I think I'll bump it up to a 9. So yeah, I think it's really good, and it's definitely up there. I don't know if it's not my. I don't think it's the best animated film ever, but it's it is fantastic, and I think it's the best of the Ice Age films, no doubt. So
No, I agree. I wouldn't say it's the best animated film, but it's up there for me.
yeah, we move on to what we thought would be the end of the Ice Age, Ice Age 2, the Meltdown.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ugh. So, Louis, I'm going to hand this over to you. Ice Age 2.
Okay, well, this film is probably the one I've seen the most. I remember when I saw that. Well, I don't remember it being announced, but I remember seeing trailers for it on. I think it was like um, the robots of the other Blue Sky film robots.
Yeah.
On that DVD, and I was so excited for it. Oh God, I remember the posters everywhere, and of Scrat and the Piranhas, and it was like "Kiss Your Ice Goodbye," which they've used again for Collision Course, and I remember the posters being everywhere. Burger King had Ice Age toys. They made a massive thing of it. I remember being so excited. I got all the toys from Burger King. I got all the figures. They were selling toys at Toys R Us. I got them all. So excited for it. And to think it's 10 years ago now. It's mad.
10 years since Ice Age 2.
It's bizarre. But this film's probably the one I've got the deepest connection with because I've seen it so many times. Pretty much we pick up where we left off. The herd is
expanded.
Yeah, like they've kind of. I think they've migrated with the other animals from the first film, and they're just all chilling in this water park that is made because the Earth's heating up, and the ice is melting, creating these water parks, and the animals having a really good time, and everyone's enjoying it. Sid started a swimming school for kids, and they just treat him with no respect. They use him as a pinata, and Manny stops them. And there's a nice emotional scene at the beginning where Manny's telling the story and to the kids. Quite funny as well. And then one of the kids, a little bird, like, "Where's your family?" And then he's just like, he doesn't know what he's lost for words. So Diego sorts it out by like, "No, it's time for the." I can't remember what he says. Like, "It's time for me to eat the kids" or something.
No, Tiger ate the pesky little kids.
Yeah, that's it. And you can see Manny's quite affected by that comment. And we meet this new character, Fast Tony, the armadillo, who's like a con man, and he's trying to sell all this equipment for the end of the world. Obviously, no one believes him, and Manny's like, "This is ridiculous. Like, 1,000 years ago there was ice. 1,000 years from now there'll still be ice. Like, we're not going extinct. Like, everything's fine." And then one of the anteaters says like, "Hey, buddy, not being rude, but like, your species is extinct. You're the last of your kind." And he kind of just shrugs it off like, "That was just stupid."
Yeah. Your breath smells like ants.
Yeah. Before it can get developed any further, you see Sid about to jump off the Abysserator, is it called?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's like this massive water ride to get some respect, and Manny's like, "Oh, please." Someone's like, "Oh, there's some idiot's about to jump the Abysserator," and he's like, "Oh, please don't say that's our idiot." And like you see Sid and Diego's just like, "Jump, jump, jump," joining in with the crowd. It's quite funny. And somehow they climb up there within like 10 seconds, and they get Sid. They stop Sid from jumping, but in doing so, on top of the dam, they see it's all broken up and melted, and it's gonna burst at any second, really. So they need to go down and warn the others. And doing so, they jump off the thing because Sid jumps on the ice and it all breaks and they fall through. And Fast Tony kind of uses it to sell stuff to people, but they all don't believe him. And then Manny's like, "No, it's all true." And they're like, "Well, you just told us it wasn't true." And then this vulture lands, and I like the vulture character. It's quite funny.
Yeah.
It's quite dark,
Like,
dark
well,
comedy.
there is some good news. The more of you die, the better I eat.
You
Hey, it was good news for you.
He's like, you're in a bowl. Pretty soon the bowl's gonna fill. And he tells them there's a boat that can save them.
Mm.
They've got to get to it. And Manny kind of goes with it and says, "Come on, let's go." Then we get a short scene with the villains. I think they're the villains. I was watching the audio commentary for the second film the other day, and the director said that the main villain of the film is nature itself, the flood,
Yeah.
but they wanted to kind of summarize that in a character, so they created the sea monsters,
Mm.
um, the prehistoric dinosaur-like fish that were frozen in ice thousands of years ago, and due to the ice melting, they were released in to the flood. And we see a scene where they kill Stu, Fast Tony's right-hand man,
Yeah.
and it's kind of sad
The ocean.
because like Fast Tony just like he's not even sad. He's like, "Stu, you in there, Stu?" And he's like, "Hey folks, be the first to own a portable home." And it's just like he's already selling his like dead friends' remains, and it's quite funny. It's a shame Fast Tony didn't return. Actually, I think it'd have been quite funny as a recurring character.
Yeah, he's just kind of there, and then he doesn't appear again.
Been quite funny to see him again.
Although he does appear at the very end, but that's
No, no, I mean in like sequels and stuff.
yeah, in a sequel. Yeah,
But hey ho, he's not. He's in it for a good amount. I suppose his character does what he establishes. Like his character does all he could do. But it'd have been nice to have a few more scenes. But yeah. So um, Manny's it's kind of got to him that he's the last of his kind, or at least that's what everyone's telling him. And there's a really nice, powerful scene where he's looking into these icicles, and it's just his reflection. And he's just like, "Oh, I guess it's just you and me now." And you can tell he's thinking about his family and everything that's happened. And Sid tries to comfort him, which doesn't really work. And he hears this like grumbling sound, and he's like, and then Diego's like, "Oh, that's a mammoth. That's another mammoth." So they go charging after, and Sid's like riding him like a horse, which is quite funny. And it leads to this giant sloth, um, who's basically got gas. He's like, "Oh, sorry, my stomach hates me." And it's quite a funny scene. Um, and then Sid's like, "Oh, that puts a stink at extinction."
yeah.
But
Oh,
yeah, that's a funny moment. Sorry, go on.
oh, jeez, nasty.
Yeah. Um, so Manny's like, "Guys, I want a moment to myself," and
Hmm.
he wanders off, and then Sid and Diego get attacked by possums, Crash and Eddie. Um, in a funny scene where they're like shooting spitballs at him, and they can't catch him, and it's quite funny to see Diego, who's like this kind of strong character who doesn't take anyone's shit, kind of getting beaten up by a pair of like possums, and his frustration is quite funny in that scene.
This is if anyone asks, there were 50 of them, and they were rattlesnakes.
Yeah. So you see Manny wander off into a lake, and he's looking into his reflection alone, and he's just kind of reminiscing about his family. I guess he's quite depressed, and all of a sudden, this other mammoth falls out of a tree, and it's Ellie, the female mammoth, who thinks she's a possum, which is a nice twist because it's not just, "Oh, here's a female mammoth, have a love story." It's, here's a female mammoth who thinks she's a possum. So here's Manny, this guy who's not very patient, who has to be quite patient in order to explain to her and get her to understand. And I kind of like that twist, although it is ridiculous at first when you think this mammoth thinks she's a possum, how stupid. And you see Crash and Eddie running towards her, and Diego's trying to chase him, and Sid's following him, and it gets revealed that these possums are her adopted brothers, and
Yeah,
they're all kind of like, what? Like, what the hell? They don't understand. They're like, what? he's like, yeah, sure, like, here's my friend the badger, and my other friend the platypus, and then Sid's like, why do I have to be the platypus? Make him the platypus. But yeah, so they're basically really confused, and because they're possums, they they have to play dead all the time, so they won't be able to get to the flood, like get to the boat to escape the flood in time. So they decide to join up with the herd, with Manny, Sid, and Diego, and they can kind of protect them. And I can't remember what, I think Manny gets really grumpy or something, and he's kind of like, come on, let's move. And then like Eddie's like, geez, I thought fat guys are supposed to be jolly. And then he's like, I'm not fat, it's his fur, it's poofy. And she's like, yeah, sure. And she's like, yeah, he's fat. And they're like walking along, and they see a vulture in the sky. I think it's like the scene where the vulture's like, all unattended children will be eaten.
Oh yeah, and then I love that scene when she's trying to camouflage herself. I find that quite hilarious.
By like picking up one leaf and putting it above her head, and just flies past, and they just like all collapse.
Yeah. And Manny's like, oh, we're never gonna make it to this, right? Ellie, it's okay. You can lose the camouflage.
It's like, did he see us? What? Did he see us?
When they play dead.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, it's cringy but funny. Also in this film, you discover Diego is scared of water, even though in the first film he runs in water, which is a bit of a plot hole.
I like that. I like that story arc about him sort of facing his fear, and it's it also shows the good nature of Sid as well, because obviously
and the fact he kind of picks up on things. Like, although he is quite stupid, he's intelligent enough to pick up on stuff, and he kind of helps his friends out. He's always like positive, and he's never negative. Like he encourages Manny to pursue his feelings with Ellie, and he tries to help Diego overcome his fears. And also Sid kind of feels like he's a joke of the herd. No one takes him seriously, and he wants some respect. But
you need to start treating me with some respect.
Yep, that's the line. Also, I forgot to say, Scrat causes the meltdown at the beginning of the film by putting his acorn in the dam, which cracks the dam, and it starts to like flood, like the water starts to come out. And whilst everyone else is moving towards this boat, he's kind of left at the water park, trying to get his acorn. And there's some really funny scenes. I think this film probably has the funniest Scrat scenes for me. Like, I don't think any other. I think maybe Dawn of the Dinosaurs tops it with just about with the
with Scrat-A.
Yeah, with Scrat-A added in. But I think this is the best original Scrat. Like, you get the scene with the piranhas, the baby vulture, the end scene as well, which is probably the funniest.
With Scrat in heaven.
Yeah, and just the scene where he dies as well, and the music, like the build up to it. He's like spinning and he's about to touch it. And he's like, it's a great moment. But going on with the actual plot of the film, the guys kind of settle down. They're gonna camp overnight, and Ellie goes for like Manny has like this pet talk with Sid, where Sid's like, you need to move on. Like he's like, you don't get it. He's like, well, this is your chance to start a family. And he's like, I had a family. And he's like, well, you could have that again. He's like, don't you get it? Like, they're always with me. Like, he thinks about them a lot. And it's really sad because you understand, again, kind of, it reminds you of why he's such a sour-faced, moody mammoth. But basically, Ellie goes off on this walk with Manny. And she's like, I remember this place, and you get this. It's really nice flashbacks. It's like the way it's done is really nice. Like, it's eerie. Like there's a massive willow tree.
With her lost.
Yeah, like you find out her backstory of how she became a quote unquote possum, how she was adopted into this family. Like she was a mammoth calf that was abandoned, or you don't really know what happened. She's on her own. She's lost or whatever. And it's freezing, the snow, there's like a massive blizzard. she goes under this willow tree that's covered in ice, and she's like shaking, and she looks up, and there's this mum possum, and who's really kind to her. Like, she's just got a sweet smile and hands her down these two possum babies that are obviously Crash and Eddie. And baby Ellie kind of just like puts them on her tusks, and baby Ellie is really cute.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the same model used for Peaches in Dawn of the Dinosaurs, but I like baby Ellie. I like that scene. I think that's probably the most emotional scene in the film. And I think it kind of harks back to the first film's kind of emotional.
Moment.
Yeah, it's kind of like a similar. It expands on it, and I think it helps that there's actual emotion in this film. And Ellie kind of realizes at that point that she is a mammoth, and she's like, "Oh my god, like I'm a mammoth. What do I do?" Like her whole life's been turned on its head. Like at this moment, she doesn't know who she is. Her identity's all over the place, and she's, "Oh my god, we're the last of our kind." And Manny's like, "Well, we can help that. Like, we're not the last of our kind anymore." She's like, "How do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you know." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, you know." And she's like, "I've already a mammoth for like 5 minutes, and you're already hitting on me." And it's like, as a kid, I never really understood it. I don't know about you, but when I like watching it now, he's basically saying they should have sex and have a baby.
Yeah.
And it's like, to have that in a kid's film, when you really, really think about it, that's a bit weird. Like, I remember as a kid always, like, I understood it, but I didn't obviously I meant, like, I knew they meant have a baby and get together, but when you realize when you actually, like, properly think about it, like, have a baby, that means having sex, and it's like, oh, you get images, it's like, no, like, I don't know if that was too much. Like, I don't think it was too much. I think they do it subtly enough, and it's not like done dirty or anything. But
Yeah.
it's one of those moments where you look back as a kid, it meant nothing, but now it's kind of like it's one of those moments that the adults laugh at, and you kind of don't really understand why.
That little innuendo.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's kind of dirty now, but doesn't really matter. And I like Ellie kind of walks past the campfire, sits up a fire, like echoing the first film where he's like, Lord of the Flames. Hey, Lord of the Flames, your tail's on fire. But no, it kind of harks back to that, and he's like so happy with it. And him and Diego just had this talk about stalking the prey in the water, and he's trying to encourage Diego to swim. He's like, claw kick. And it's a funny scene, but Ellie walks past and she like stamps out the fire, and that kind of represents that all the happiness and warmth.
There's no more spark.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the fun's over. We're moving on. She's like, you can do it the possum way now at night. And then it's like I really like enjoy the scene. It's like pitch black. They're walking. They can't really see what's going on. And Ellie's like, tell Manny. So I can't remember how it goes, but like it's kind of like Chinese whispers. Like she's saying stuff, and then Crash and Eddie are like saying it completely different, like of what she's saying.
Yeah.
And it leads to this really nice scene where they're on these rocks, and it's like falling apart. But in order to like keep everyone together and balance the rocks, they have to like hold trunks. And they keep arguing, and the more they argue, the more the rocks become unbalanced, and they all nearly collapse and fall or whatever. And Diego's kind of the voice of reason in this scene. Like he kind of directs them. Like Crash and Eddie are on Ellie's side, and Sid's kind of defending Manny, but Diego kind of just like looks past that and is trying to get them out alive.
Yeah.
And it's a really powerful scene because like they kind of forgive each other. Like Ellie admits she's overreacting, Manny apologizes, and it kind of again harks back to the first film when with the lava, because Diego's kind of hanging off the edge, and they both grab him with his trunks, which is kind of like what Manny did in the first film. But I really do like that scene. I don't know what you thought about it, but for me, it's one of the highlights of this film.
Which scene, sorry?
The rock balance scene.
Oh yeah, no, I really like that scene because it's it's a tense moment because you think, oh, okay, oh, they're all going to die. But the ironic thing is they're having a heated argument within it. So I find that very interesting, and it's always been a favorite scene of mine because they're all hanging off the rocks, and it's it was just a good scene.
And the fact that as the argument gets more heated, so does the tension. Like, they need to kind of put their difference aside to work together as a group and survive.
Yeah,
And I suppose that is the moral of the story in this film. It's kind of like you need to accept each other's differences in order to move on, kind of thing.
yeah, and also you shouldn't be with somebody because you have to. Be with them because you want to, which is they mentioned at the end. Also, it's weird, the scene that follows the rock thing, I mean, not exactly after that, but a while after that, when they do the food, glorious food bit. It's quite weird.
Yeah, I love that bit. We can kind of skip past, because the only bit after that is Sid's sloth kidnap.
Again, those two scenes were just really random. The food, glorious food, and the Fire King tribal thingy-majig.
I think the Fire King is really random, but it helps Sid's story arc. Like,
it does, yeah.
He's actually a group of people that want to worship him, although they want to sacrifice him at first because they think he's responsible for the meltdown. But it's quite a funny scene, like his dance, like ooh 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 ooh, ooh when they're like clicking, and it's really weird. And no one believes him, and I feel really sorry for Sid because it's like they're just like, yeah, of course it did. You're just dreaming, like shut up. And they move on and they have the food, glorious food, and I think that's a great montage. It's so catchy and it sticks in your head for like the whole of the film. Like, it is the start of the songs in Ice Age. Like, that's the first instance of them singing, like, not them as a herd, but characters singing. But it works. It's enjoyable enough. It's not taking you out of the film negatively. It's a light bit of action. It's not Masters of the Sea shanty. Ugh.
Oh God! Don't talk about that one just yet.
Oh. But no, I really enjoy the food, glorious food. We're anxious to try it.
I love the end of it when Sister Sid. There, now you know what they were thinking.
Yeah. And as they're walking off, Sid's like, food, glorious food. It's like, Sid.
Sid.
Like, what? It's catchy. And then you get like the dodo singing it as well as it gets like turned into like a turkey.
Also, one scene which I found very poignant was when Manny goes through the steam, and then he gets sort of hit with the steam, and then you hear the voices of other characters in his head.
Yeah, he's kind of having like a
mental breakdown almost.
Yeah, he's kind of figuring out, like, that's when he realizes he wants to be with Ellie, but not because he has to be, because he just wants to be, because they kind of split up, because she won't go through the geyser field, and they're both quite stubborn, and he's just like, oh, well, whatever, bye. And he's kind of like, well, I want to be with you, but not just because it's the end, and we've met our goal, we're at the boat. I want to be with you because I want to be with you, and all the stuff about being the last of his kind's getting to him, and again, Sid and Diego save him, and they get to the boat.
Yeah, I have to say, I think the climax is absolutely great.
You really feel that everything's at stake.
When Manny goes to save Ellie from the cave, and it's the comedy also expands as well.
I'll save you!
I'll save you! That always made me laugh.
Great, who's gonna save him? And
that was a nice continuation of Diego's story, him facing his fear. This is when Diego hasn't completely gone soft, and I like that.
Stalking the prey. I'm stalking the prey. He's like, claw kick. I'm stalking the prey. It's a great scene.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Also, the animation is great, like the underwater and like the further texture of it being wet. I thought that was really good. Like, I don't know about you, but when the dam actually breaks and you see Scrat in the nest, and you kind of see like everyone's safe on the boat, and they could have gone on the boat and been saved, but like Manny runs towards it, like this massive tsunami wave type of thing, and the tension's really high, and the music, the theme, the score is just
Oh
like
yeah.
the perfect combination.
I think the score's so tense as well. Like John Powell's a brilliant composer, and like I love the end when Manny's fighting the sea monsters. That music is great. It's just so suspenseful. But the classic theme, obviously, which everybody remembers, is the when the mammoths come back. That's really the emotional sort of main theme that Ice Age has. I mean, they reuse it in the fourth one as well, and some of it in the third as well. Not in the fifth though. They don't reuse it in the fifth. But I've always loved that piece of music, and you know, it's yeah. I also used it for my reviews, and it was. I think it's great. I think the whole soundtrack is still great. I don't know if it's as good as the score for the first one, but it's still.
It holds up well. Like I
Yeah.
really like the beginning where it's like do 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 do
Yeah.
do do.
Ellie's flashback, you know. Da, 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 da. You know, it's those moments that make you appreciate it.
It's very and like the sea monsters, because I haven't really mentioned them.
Yeah.
They're kind of just there because apparently there was going to be three, but they cut one out. Like I always thought it was weird. There's just two of them.
Yeah, I just don't get why they only appear twice in the film. There's, you know, I don't really believe there is. I suppose I can understand now why they say nature is the villain, but
I would have preferred it if they just removed them personally.
yeah, they didn't really have a place, you know.
I don't think they're the worst villains. Like that belongs to a Captain Gut. But I did enjoy their fight scene. I kind of wish you knew what happened to them because the log falls on them and that's it.
I think one of them
they die.
I thought one of them escaped, but maybe I was wrong.
No, they both got that log hit. Like I had the storybook version as a kid. It was like quite a big book that had like every like detail of the film. And in the book, they were once the flood went away, they were like left stranded and the vultures ate them.
Yeah.
I think was a better ending for them, personally.
Fair
Like,
enough.
you just saw the vultures land on their backs and they're like dinner time. Like I think that kind of gives them like it wraps them up because it's kind of anticlimactic. They just get a rock or a log or whatever it is falls on them and that's it.
Yeah.
It'd have been nice to have just seen them get their comeuppance, but I love the bit where like they go like they save Ellie, they're on the rock, everything's fine. He's like, "We're gonna live," and it's like, "We're gonna die," and it's like flooding and it's rising, and you see Sprat like has managed to like hack his way up with his acorn.
I love that part when the ice breaks apart and then you hear the holy music.
Like,
Dun, like
you see like his like body's like all like spread and like ripped apart, and he's just like falling. And as he falls, the waves hit him and like wash out his body. And as a kid, I always thought he actually did die. Like, a part of me was like, he's not dead, it's Scrat, like he can't die. But it was kind of like a really heroic moment, as unintentional as it was. But I love it when the boat thing, the big log, kind of gets stranded and everyone gets out, and then the grandpa's like, "I'm not leaving this boat, it's my boat," and the kid's like,
my boat now.
And then the mammoths come out, which was a bit cliche, but they're not the last of their kind, and that great score plays, and Ellie's like, "I'm joining the herd, like I'm joining the mammoth herd, like I am another mammoth, I should be with a mammoth." And then I think she's kind of hinting at Manny to speak up, but he's a bit rusty, and he's like, "Well, I hope you have," he's kind of like, "I hope you have a good life," kind of thing, and they part ways. And then Sid just says to him, like, "Look, you've got to let go of your past in order to have a future. We had a great run, but just go out there, like, you need to be with her." And
Oh yeah, I love that bit at the end because he's, you know, you really do think that they're actually not going to see him again, but
He's like, yay, two bachelors knocking about in the wild.
I'm
He's
not
like,
scary you.
yeah. And then you get that bit where Manny's up the tree and he's like, hey, Ellie, I want to be with you because I want to be with you, not because I have to be with you. And I want to be with you, Ellie. And it's just like a really sweet moment. And the mammoths all like honk their horns, not honk their horns, like trumpet, whatever.
Wow.
And it's a great climactic. It's just like a great resolution to the film. And you see them kind of walk off in the sunset, and they're a family again. Like they've added new members to their herd, and it's kind of mimics the ending of the first film when they kind of walk off into the sunset. Like it's just really. Oh, this film for me is like, although I give Ice Age 10 out of 10, I'll rate this a lot lower. I still think, for me personally, this is the one I watch most. It's probably my most enjoyable.
It's
It's more nostalgia for me. Like, it takes me back, and I just really like the story itself. Like, the first film is a quest to return the baby. This is a quest to kind of survive.
yeah,
Oh, this is the beginning of like the Doomsday.
survival story.
Yeah, which unfortunately we still get to up until the 5th. Hopefully not for the 6th, but
Yeah. Like, do you want to kill these characters off?
I think this works best than any of the others in order of like Doomsday situations. It's more realistic, and I don't know. I just like the idea of a flood that washes away the Ice Age. Although it's not the end of the Ice Age because um, we've got another 3 films to go. But
Yes, we do.
we didn't talk about the end scene.
The Scrat in Heaven.
Do 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 do. It's a great scene. Like he's at the Golden Gates and he's like, and he's like
And when he gets,
ballet dancing. The Dodos have a cameo from there. Like they're like a choir now. And he's like spinning and he's like holding the nuts and he's dancing around, leaping, and he sees in the like his eyes just like glimmer at this sight of a massive acorn, and he's like running towards it, and he has just like they give him so much like time. He's just about to get it, and it's already nice. And the second he's about to touch it, he can't touch it, and he's like, and he's like, nah! And he's like getting sucked, and he's trying to grab onto the gates, and you just see him like wake up, and Sid's like, I saved you, little buddy, and he's like, and he like goes back to like Ninja Scrap from the Piranha scene.
Well,
To see him chase him off in the sunset.
I love how you hear the gong sound. Well,
And he's like screams like, ah!
so we never talked about the Piranha scene.
Yeah, that's a great scene. Like, you could. I've talked enough. You could.
Out of 10,
Oh no. Okay, out of 10, I'd probably give this one an 8.5. I know that's quite a high rating, but just for nostalgia reasons alone, I think this is probably the best sequel in my opinion. It's the best follow-up to the first film, and yeah, for me this is my favorite sequel. So, 8.5.
awesome. Yeah, I like Ice Age 2. This one tends to get a bad rap on some occasions, but I like it. I think it's great, and I think the stories. I like the situation of the story they're in. I think the idea of the ice melting is interesting. I like Ellie's story. I think she's a great character. Her emotional journey is nice, and her backstory when we see her as a child is very, very sweet. And her relationship with Manny is done really well. It's very funny, played for laughs. I mean, it's quite, as you said, it's kind of slightly odd that she thinks she's a possum, but her delusions, I think, it makes the whole thing funnier. I think.
No, I agree.
The fact that she's a possum. The Scrat scenes continue to make me laugh. Crash and Eddie are pretty good. They're not my favorite characters, but I like them. Sid is funny in this. He's great. I like his story about how he he feels kind of neglected by the guys. He doesn't feel appreciated. And Diego's story as well about facing his fear, that's also very good. It all comes together really well. I mean, again, it's another simple story. It doesn't quite reach the emotional poignancy of the first movie, but I think it's I mean, there are some silly scenes in there, but I still think that the comedy works and it's a huge amount of fun, and the story's great and the music is fantastic. The animation's good, and 10 years old, and it doesn't look dated at all. I remember when this came out, and I was looking forward to it. The piranha scene was definitely a highlight for me. Scrat. Also, the vultures were quite intimidating. But yeah, there's not much more I can say, to be honest. The sea monsters I'm not really a fan of. They just don't do anything. I fail to see why they were considered to be villains, because you're not going to actually make them characters, then there's not really much point having them in there, to be honest. But oh well. At the end of the day, Ice Age 2 is a fun romp of a film, and I think it's probably the best, if not one of the best, of the sequels of the series. And I think that when there's genuine moments of tension, and the climax, as I said, is great fun. It's very enjoyable. I would rate Ice Age 2 probably a 7 out of 10. I don't think I have quite the emotional attachment as you. I do think there are parts of it which kind of like uneventful. There's a lot of it doesn't have the pace of the first one. I think there's a lot of stopping and starting with the characters. They're moving and then they're sort of resting, and then I'm not saying this is a major issue, but they do stop and start quite a lot.
It's kind of just a straightforward. They need to get to one location to the other, like, and they rest in between. It's not like the first film where they don't really have an impending doom. They're just at their own kind of pace, getting the baby back.
Yeah. But I mean, that aside, minor gripes. I still think it's a good film and it's very entertaining. Yeah. So that's really all I've got to say. Sorry, I didn't have much to say about it, but you kind of summed it all up. To be honest, yeah. So we'll move on to the halfway point of this series, Ice Age 3,
Boom, boom.
Dawn of the Dinosaurs. So, Louis, what do you think of Ice Age 3?
Well, I remember it must have been 2008, because the film came out in 2009, and I was on YouTube on the computer at home, and I remember just looking at, I can't remember what it was. I just remember seeing this trailer pop up, and I clicked it, and it was Scrat, like in the ice, doing whatever, doing his thing, putting his nut in the ground, falling into the hole, and I was laughing, and then he fell into this like jungle. He was on the end of a dinosaur's tail, and it roared, and it said, it like in big Ice Age letters, it went Ice Age 3, boof boof, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, boof boof, to come in summer 2009. And I was just like, oh wow, like, because I remember me and my friend in year 2, we were just talking about ideas for films, and I kid you not, like, no one believes me when I say this, but we said like the next film should be Dawn of the Dinosaurs. I remember it so clearly, and we were saying that there should be characters, and I remember my friend said there should be a one-eyed character called Buck, who was I think we said not a weasel, we said like a wildebeest kind of like cow thing, and like it was so creepy watching the actual film and seeing how much of the stuff we said they should be was in it. And for me to this day, it's still like, I'm just so happy that something we said, oh, that should happen, actually happened. And I just remember being so hyped for this film. Just remember watching the trailer over and over again and having to wait a year, but just, I didn't care because I knew it was coming, and I was so happy. But I don't know about your reaction to the initial film announcement trailer thing.
Well, I was very excited for the film when the trailers came out, no doubt. But I can't say I had the same theories as you. I honestly, back when after Ice Age 2, I was like, okay, that was good. I can't wait to see what they do for the next one. But I was never really, I don't know, like I was never, I don't know, I was never really as hyped. I thought I'd like to see it at some point, because at the time when I saw it in the cinema, it was during the time when my sister's birthday was around, and I was kind of annoyed because I wanted to see Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, but because it was my sister's birthday sort of thing, she went with friends, and I was tagged onto it, and we went. She chose to see Ice Age 3, so I was like, oh god! But I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It was great fun. No way the best of the series, but it was great fun. I mean, yeah, I can't say I had the same reaction as you did though.
Yeah. Because I've talked about the first two, do you want to talk about this one?
I don't mind. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, we can always take it in turns. I mean,
No, it's fine. It's just I don't want to take anything away from you. I want to
no,
issue
no, it's fine. I mean, I like Ice Age 3. I mean, it's I think it's the most fun potentially of the series. I'm quite fond of this one actually. I think I'd say even though the concept is not really realistic and it's kind of a bit the timeline doesn't particularly make sense, but I don't really care. I don't care about that. I just watch it as it is and accept it as it is. It's a fun movie. It's great fun. Buck is absolutely hilarious. He's one of my favorite characters of the series, and I'm glad they brought him back for Collision Course. And you know, the film is just great fun. Again, it doesn't reach the emotional heights of the first one, but you know, I still really enjoy this one. I think you can just have fun with it. Like it's paced really well. I think there's never a dull moment. Like the second one, there was a lot of stopping and starting. This one is constant momentum. There's always something happening. It's different, you know, because you're seeing this underground world, um, and you know I like that. I like the Scratay thing as well with her. You know, the Scrat love story is quite funny. And I love the montage when we see the acorn, you know, lonely.
Oh, that's the best part. That's one of the best parts of the film. That whole soundtrack, like, alone again, naturally. Oh,
Also, the music score again is great by John Powell. I like the scene when Peaches is born. That's very nice. I mean, that's only really when the movie reaches the emotional sort of heights when it's like Manny's finally got his family back. You know, I thought that would have been a nice ending to the story. You know, Manny's finally he's got a daughter, he's got his family back. You know, nothing else could go wrong, or could it? Uh, but you know, I like that scene very much, and the comedy is great. I think particularly from Buck. Like Buck is just hilarious, and Simon Pegg definitely made the part his own, and did a bang up job with it. The cast are all great. It's great to sort of see how enthusiastic they still are. The third movie in, um, Crash and Eddie are still good again. Ellie's great. You know, Diego, he has his little subplot about him wanting to leave. Like they're addressing his age, which I find very interesting. You know that he's getting a bit old and tired, and you know he wants to sort of get out of the herd and to do his own thing, but he feels like after that experience that you know he's got enough adventure where he wants it. I mean, it's not explored very much, but I still think it's an interesting subplot. One, I think this is really Sid's film,
yeah.
because of his plot wanting to be a parent. They do this with all three of the characters. And obviously, Manny is craving his family back after the disaster of what happened in the past. Sid, you know, is jealous that Manny and Ellie are having a baby, hence wanting to have his own kids. But we'll see how far that works out. Sid has great intentions, but he causes so many problems. And then they address it with Diego and Shira in the fifth one, but we'll get to that in a bit. But no, I like. I think it works with Sid. I think what they've done is very, very nice, and I think he has a great relationship with the three sort of dinos, and they're by the end you really feel like Sid has come on a journey, like he's maturing, if that makes sense. It's maybe this is a weird way to look at it, but
No, I can agree with that.
that's how I see it. Even though he's still like an idiot. Um, that bird that he accidentally kills.
Oh yeah,
That bird
like,
reminds me of Roger from the fifth one.
yeah. When I saw the character design pictures of Roger, I was like, wait, is that the same? Like, it's so familiar, but I was like, oh wait, it's not. But I thought that when I saw it, I was like, well, hang on a minute, no, it's not Roger. But for me, Ice Age 3, I remember waiting to go to cinema to see it, and I finally saw it, and I remember really enjoying it, being a bit disappointed just with the fact that it was like it was set in a completely different world. Like with the whole dinosaurs, it was a bit unrealistic. Like in the second film, they say like the dinosaurs were extinct because they were too cocky. But once you look past that, it's probably the most fun out of all the films. It's the most laid back. It's just a journey, like a nice journey adventure. They're in a world of the unknown, underground. Buck, like you said, he's the star of this film. He owns this film. Like, although it is Sid's movie emotionally, Buck is like the standout character, and at the end you're so disappointed when he doesn't join them, because I think he would have made the full film a lot more watchable and durable, but we got him back in the fifth, so it's alright. Like,
Yeah, they made up for it.
yeah, for me there is a bit of like, I agree with you, the most emotional is the ending with Peaches, but I think you could also get a tiny scrape of emotion from Buck's backstory with Rudy. Like, it's turned him into this obsessed, mad
Weasel.
loner. Yeah, like he can't let the past go with the whole back. Like when he's like telling the story of how he lost his eye, he's like back and forth and back and forth and forth and back and forth, and like he's so mad that he's funny. He's like,
I love that he's so mad, and when he's talking to the Rock,
yeah,
like, yeah. I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. I'm trying to find a dead sloth. Yeah. No, they think I'm crazy. I'm going into the chasm of death. I'm going to lose you. Yes, I love you too. Goodbye. Okay, let's go. And it's just the...
Or like the scene where he's like, I woke up married to a pineapple. It was an ugly pineapple. I loved her.
I love that. It's great. And also the crime scene, like when he was like, Sid steps on broccoli, making broccoli a vegetable.
He's like, oh. He's like,
broccoli.
Or like, he's like, oh, you, get off my lawn. He's like, oh, I knew him when he was a little caterpillar. He's like, before he came out. It's like really tongue-in-cheek, but hilarious. It's a great, like, that's the only thing that annoyed me about the fifth film is, but the reason Buck didn't go was because of Rudy. But yet, he's so obsessed in this film with Rudy. Every Rudy.
I call him.
This film, no Rudy mentioned. Like, that's the only thing that annoys me. But we'll get onto that when we get onto the fifth film. But yeah, Sid, like you said, he develops. He's with the baby. He thinks he's mum to these. Like, he's a parent to dinosaurs. It's like some of the funniest scenes are at the beginning where he's like gonna milk the cow, and he's like, "I thought you were a female."
I like that.
Again, very tongue-in-cheek, very adult humor.
This animal, I am your baby, and this is my milk. Or
Yeah, he's like, poor little lambs that have lost their way. Ba ba ba, and like the mother dinosaur, like these are my kids. I've put blood, sweat, and tears into them for a day, and he's like, yes, Sid, a day. Now let them go, you idiot. He's like, she's their mother. It's like, how do I know? It's like, birth certificate?
She's a dinosaur. And I love the scene when he's trying to feed them vegetables. And I say the vegetarian, you say grr. I say, can we talk about this? You say grr. I don't call that communication. That's your answer to everything.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, he's like, lovely mucus. He's like, I don't say that to everyone.
Nice mucus.
Like, yeah, this film for me is Sid's film. It's Buck's film as well.
Yeah.
And I think it helps because Sid's not really with the herd in this film. So
Yeah.
you need like you kind of lose the childish, immature
Yeah.
comedy that Sid brings. So they replace him with Buck, and
This
it works.
end of Sid the Sloth.
And like you said, Scrap gets developed for once, and he has
It's the one
Scrate, and
first.
it's hilarious. Like that's probably one of the funniest moments in the film, like his journey.
Also, when he's dancing with Scrate and they're
Yeah.
fighting over
Dun, 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 dun. It's like you'll never find dun, dun, dun,
long
the whole time
Oh.
someone who loves you. It's so ridiculous. It's funny, but yeah, for me, this film not as good as the previous two, but a lot more fun and enjoy. Like it's a lot more silly and stupid, but
Yeah, but it's fun. It's
still
just
got the heart, and so for that reason, I'd give it probably like a 7.5, maybe an 8 out of 10.
yeah. I would agree. I'd say about 7. I think the comedy is fantastic, and it's just as you said, it's just the most fun. And I also love the part when they say, "What's that? It's the wind speaking to us. What's it saying? I don't know. I don't speak wind."
It's just so many stupid moments. Like, and I think if it wasn't for Simon Pegg, Buck would be very annoying.
You know what bit really weirded me out when I first saw it was the bit when Ellie was saying to Diego, "Come on, push, push. You have no idea what I'm going through."
Yeah.
What the fuck is
Or the bit where he's like, "Oh, the time I turned a T-Rex into a T-Rachel."
Yes, master.
It's like, ugh. But yeah, this should, in my opinion, this would have been the perfect end to this trilogy.
Yeah.
Like the end where it's like, "Welcome to the Ice Age." Like that was very nice, very good.
You know, everybody's story has come full circle. They're all a herd again. Manny's, got his family back, and it's nice. It's nice. And what was I gonna say? There's another moment when they get inside this flower, and Diego says, "I feel tingled." Don't say that when you're pressed up against me. Not that kind of tingly. I like that. That's
It's like, "You need to get him out of there." It's like, you pull that root, and he's like, "There'll be nothing but bones in a couple of minutes." He's like, "Well, maybe 5 for the fat one." He's like, "It's not." He's like, "I'm not fat. It's the fur. It's poofy." And then like Buck dives in, but he's too fat to get in the hole. And he's like, "Who's fat now?"
it's time to get buck.
Wild.
I like the music as well for this film. Also, the bit when he goes in, he sees the wires. It's like,
Or he's like, "They died laughing," and he's like,
Yeah.
"It's funny because." He's like, they're all laughing. And he's like, "Oh, that was totally awesome how you were gonna leave the herd, and now we're all gonna die." He's like, "That's it." He's like, "Isn't it funny how we came here to save Sid, and now we're all gonna die?"
I don't even like Sid. He's an idiot.
He's like, "Who does?" He's like, "Sometimes I pee your bed."
Sometimes I wet your bed. It's like, you have my bed? That was gas talk, dude.
And then it's like Buck just like, "Yeah, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy."
Yeah, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy.
Like, "Oh, I'm so lonely."
Oh, that was funny. But yeah, I agree. I mean, also the animation's great. It also because it's different. They're all underground and it's a different world. And
It's like, "I feel so puny." It's like, "How do you think we feel?"
how do you think I feel? Oh yeah, yabba dabba doo. Don't ever yabba dabba do that again. Also, like, I wondered if they had to pay to use that line.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was watching, like, sure, that's copyright.
Yeah, I don't know, but I agree. 7 out of 10. It's a good one. It's a great one. I think it might have been the one I've seen the most, just because it's fun. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Now we
We are ham and cheese.
we move on to Ice Age 4, Continental Drift. Ugh. Ugh. Oh,
Where do we start?
I'm gonna let you start.
Okay, I remember hearing there was going to be a sequel to Dawn of the Dinosaurs, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I thought it was the end.
I'll be back in a sec. Just carry on talking.
Okay, that's fine. I thought, oh, this was the end. It's Manny's got his family back. Ice Age 3 ended with that nice touching scene, like "Welcome to the Ice Age," and I was like, "Oh, cool, another film. I'm happy with this." They released a poster called Continental Drift, and I was like, really weird title, Continental Drift, and I googled it, and uh, turns out it was a natural occurrence where the continents are formed and stuff like that, separate and form the shapes we know as continents, to Africa, all the continents. So I was like, okay, this be interesting. Um, in the poster, they showed a female mammoth, and I was like, oh, who's that? And it was Peaches. I was like, God, they've aged her a lot in this film from the last. She's a teenager now. She looked almost adult. So I was like, cool. And they released a teaser trailer, where it's basically the first 5 minutes of the film where Scrat goes into the Earth's core, and he's running on the Earth's core and trying to get his acorn, and he causes all the continents to split. And it's really, this is the first time I felt that it was too far. Like, the jokes weren't funny. Like, you have the giraffes being created, Scrat's face making all the major landmarks, and I was just like, I didn't laugh, and that was disappointing. Then they released a second trailer, second part to this, which again is another part of the film, where Scrat's on a desert island, and he is trying to find the map to this Acorn Island, and it's not even funny. Like, he goes underwater, he loses all his ears pop and loses the oxygen, and he becomes all like flat, where he's under so much pressure, and he's walking along, and he gets speared, and he gets taken aboard this ice ship, and there's like pirates, and at that point I was like, pirates, really? Like, we're doing pirates now? But anyhow, I remember watching the film in advanced screening on my own, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. A lot different to what I was expecting. Like, it's kind of Peach's story and Manny's story, and the others kind of just forgotten about. Then I saw it with some friends and my brothers, and I just didn't enjoy it at all. The whole pirate ship aspect, pirate ship, not pirate shit. That whole aspect of it, just felt really forced. Like, you look at the first film and how realistic it is, and you see this, and like, we're fighting pirates, and it's like, kind of like, I just rolled my eyes, like, this isn't Ice Age. And it just reminded me so much of the second film as well. Like, they're separated in water, and they're floating on ice, and it's like, been there, done this. Ellie didn't really get any say in this film. She wasn't really used. Same with Crash and Eddie, they were just there because they were in the previous films. Peaches has like Nicki Minaj, and they're like playing the Wanted song, and it's just like cringy. Lewis, that little mole thing, was embarrassing. It wasn't the villains in this film, Captain Gut was probably the worst villain of the whole franchise, and his bloody song, like, the Masters of the Sea, that's me. Who, me? Oh, please, it's me. And it's like, oh, that song annoyed me so much. The only saving grace this movie, part of this movie, the only saving grace this movie has is a new Herd Edition member by the name of Granny, Sid's Granny. I really enjoyed her in this film. She kind of summed up how I felt about the film. Like, she's just rude and obnoxious and just had a go at everyone. And for me, Granny kind of saves the film, and like, she's the only one who makes it watchable. But at the same time, she makes it quite stupid with like her pet whale Precious. That was a bit cringy, but I like it when she's like on the pirate ship. She's like being forced to walk the plank, and she's like, she thinks that the Captain Gut is
Such
being
a nice monkey.
Yeah, that's it. She's like, what a nice monkey. She's like, Sydney, you should be more like him. And then like she looks over at these narwhals that are gonna like eat her. When she falls in, she's like, "Ooh, y'all got some ugly goldfish." It's like,
Yeah.
Granny for me is the only reason why I go back to watch this film. She just makes me laugh because she's so like, she's so ridiculous.
Yeah. I just think the idea of her is a bit cringy, but
It is cringy, but
she's kind of funny in some scenes.
yeah, she's like, the pirate ship crew, I don't like any of them really. Flynn, the Sill, is quite funny.
Flynn, he's great. Yeah, when he's like, there is no way back. Yes, there is. If you sail to Shipwreck Cove, and
Yeah, or like when the ship sinks, he's like, "Oh, we're all gonna drown. We're all gonna drown." He's like, "I'm too young to die." And he's like, "You're a sea creature, idiot." He's like,
idiot.
"Oh yeah." He like just swims.
And I love the part when Manny says, "Look, as much as I'd love to join the Easter Bunny, a monkey, and a giant bag of pudding."
Yeah, that's me.
What? Oh no, he's gone forever. Oh, there he is.
So, and like yeah, I think the Shira, the Sabretooth love interest, it kind of is just a rip-off of the second film. Like, it's kind of the same as Manny and Ellie, and she's just there for just to be a love interest. She's not really like established.
Yeah, plus
It'd be nice to have some backstory to how she became a pirate, and
she's voiced by Jennifer Lopez as well. So
yeah, and it's like you have Nicki Minaj in this film as a
What's
mama.
the hero? God.
Oh my, yeah, it's just like, oh, that mohawk, ugh,
Wait, that's embarrassing.
yeah, it's just like, ugh. Like, I don't know about you, but I think aging Peaches by like 10 years was a big mistake. It was cringy.
I would like to have seen her as a younger girl grow up.
Like, maybe like just a normal kid.
Like I think they with the newer films, they've rushed Peach's life. You know, she's now married in the fifth one. It's like, bloody hell, that was quick. She was only born a minute ago. You know.
Exactly. It's like she could have been 10 in this film. That would have been fine. But it was too much, and like it just felt to me like Ellie, the possums, they didn't really have anything to do. Same with Sid. That's why I kind of like Granny being there. She gave him some purpose. Like like it just felt like his journey so far. Like the third film, he had matured.
The best Sid moment in this film was when Manny said, "Oh, Diego's got the L word. Leprosy."
Like, no, Sid. It begins with L and ends in E, and it's 4 letters. It's like life.
Life.
Like, no, my friend Diego. He's like, Diego is in love. And then Diego's like, oh, no, I'm not. I like the well, actually, there's a scene with the sirens, and I just find it a bit cringy. But
I found it strange, you know. I really miss you. You were right, Manny. You're always right. Wait, Ellie would never say that.
yeah, it's like, oh, Sid. It's like, Granny.
Have you talked about Gut and the song?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
The masters of the sea. Who? Me? Oh, please. Oh. That was a song too far.
That one, I mean, the one in the credits is worse, but even so.
Well, I'm just glad they didn't actually sing that.
Really should be leaving.
Yeah, it was just cringy. Like, the whole pirate aspect for me was... I was saying before, Continental Drift is a weird title. Like, it's not really... Like, Dawn of the Dinosaurs has that ring to it. The Meltdown.
It makes sense.
Yeah, like, Continental Drift system. It should have been, like, Pirate something. Oh, God. Captain Gut. But no, I think Granny is the only thing that makes me go back to watch this film, and even then I watch it very rarely. I do like the scene where like Sid's with the crab and he's like, find me a wife and tell her I love her, and he like that's like the only funny part of the film for me.
One scene that I absolutely hate is the gerbils scene, those little thingies.
Oh, what, the little lemon things, and they're like
so annoying. And it's silly the way Sid communicates with them. I'm sorry. I hate them.
It's not funny whatsoever.
Yeah. Also, I personally find the film to be boring as well.
It's just like
drags on.
Yeah, it's just it has no potential. It really does feel like it's the end of the franchise. Whereas at least with the fifth, it feels like it's renewed and there's so many, like, it could do anything. Whereas this film, it's kind of like, it's so predictable.
Like, the fourth one takes itself seriously, but the fifth one, it's dumb. but it knows it's dumb and it has fun with itself, even if it is silly, really silly. They actually make something out of it. With this, they try and take it seriously. I mean, I'm not against the whole pirate idea, but
They could have done it a lot better.
yeah, they could have done. And also the film just fumbles its way to the finale. I just remember not caring when the finale was going on. There's just way too many characters, and too much going on. And this film made me lose interest in Ice Age. It really did.
Yeah, and the bit where at the end, where they're making their way home, and then you see Guts got peaches. It's just so cringy. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
And Lewis, and it's just, oh. But
the pointless character.
When he saw Peaches and Ellie kind of fall into the water, and he thought they were dead, it would have been better if he's like, it would have been just a bit a bit more emotional if he said oh god, it's happening again. I've lost my family again. It just felt a bit stupid that he just kind of went silent. It was like, no, they're still alive. They're still alive. There was no tension.
Yeah, I mean, Lewis's heroic moment, I suppose. When he does the kind of the sword in the stone thing when he throws it around and
that's Buck's knife. I don't get that.
How did he get Buck's knife or Rudy's tooth?
It's just, I was just like, oh, this film is the end, and I was so disappointed that if that was the end, that was what we got as the end. It deserved more.
I just feel the movie's an absolute mess, and it just doesn't know what it wants to be. It's just fumbling from one thing to the next. There's just too many people in the film. There's too many characters. Again, the crew, that little bunny rabbit, Squint, he fucking annoyed me as well.
So, and you have Raz, I think it's called, the kangaroo, voiced by Rebel Wilson, and she's hardly in it.
There's one line.
Yeah, and even Shira, she doesn't really get much to do.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't get much to do in the fifth one either, but
Her in the fifth one to this.
I mean, the premise is decent, but it's the way they do it as well. I just think the direction is very misguided. It's just descended into silliness, and that's something I can't escape when I watch the fourth one. I cringe every time those fucking gerbil things come along. I mean, Sid's grandma I've kind of got used to now. At the first time I saw the film, I didn't really like her that much, but I think she's kind of funny. I laugh at her a couple of times. I think the fifth one made me appreciate her a little bit more. But yeah, I don't think she was completely necessary, and the whole Precious thing was...
Oh, that was just boring. And
yeah. I mean, it's just, it just reminds you how much this isn't the first one. Comparing this one to the first one is a major difference. But
I agree.
yeah, I mean, there's some good humor. I do find it funny in occasions, and it's nicely animated. Also, I think Peter Dinklage does well with what he can with Gut. He's a interesting villain, but he doesn't get. You don't really get his motivations. Basically, it's you came into my ocean, and then that was it. It was an unprovoked attack, and then Manny destroyed a ship, and that was it from there. Surely there's got to be a bit more than that. It felt very underwritten, underdeveloped. That's not enough to want to cause somebody to destroy someone's legacy. That's a bit extreme. I just didn't get Captain Gut, to be honest. I liked the voice and I liked the performance, but the character wasn't there at all. But, well, fault on the writers.
I agree.
And also, the whole subplot with Peach is trying to woo Ethan. Get rid of that fucking plot, please. Please, just get rid of that plot.
That was so cringy. And, the whole Lewis thing, I'm so glad he wasn't in the fifth one, properly.
Yeah. He was a boring character.
Yeah, he was just... He was... And it's they were trying to put a romance on him and Peaches, and it was just wrong.
Yeah.
It just... Not a fan of that film whatsoever. And I'm just so glad they managed to turn it around
One thing I did like though was the end of the film, Scratlantis.
I actually found that really cringe. I didn't find that funny at all. I feel like I took this. I didn't like the fact they were speaking, and
I thought it was funny that it was Patrick Stewart though.
yeah, that was. I didn't know it was Patrick Stewart until I saw your review and you said it was him. Like, for me, I just didn't find Scrat funny in this movie at all, really.
Being more than a rodent. I think by this point the Scrat scenes have been exhausted. They've done everything they could.
I think they could. I think some of them are alright, but like I was saying about the opening, like when he was like he created the Continental Drift, it wasn't funny. Like when his face was like pretend to be the president's on the cliffs. It's like it just wasn't funny. I wasn't.
Yeah, well, we all saw it in the trailer as well, so that might also be why.
Yeah, I just didn't find it funny. Like it just felt really stupid and dumb. I know that sounds silly to say, but for me, it was kind of too like childish. Like, yeah, Scrat kind of let me down in this film.
I also think when he goes underwater and he goes really like
The
thick.
pressure, yeah, I said that. Like, it's very silly.
Yeah, they just ran out of ideas.
I did find it a bit funny though when he was on the he was like a fish, like he was dancing on the boat and they're like throwing stuff at him.
Oh, yeah, that was funny.
And I think they even referred to him as Scrat at that point. Like I'm pretty sure it's Flynn. So something like, oh, the Scrat dance or something like. And when he's like he kicks a mouse, like they're all jumping up the ship, the rats, and he kind of like kicks one.
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
Yeah.
But, yeah, to me this is the worst, and I'll probably give it like a 3 out of 10.
Blimey, yeah, it's pretty crap. I mean,
There's very little that saves it for me.
I also think the whole, father-daughter relationship is so cliche. Oh, I wish you weren't my father, and then
Daddy.
no, it's like, and then oh yeah, they're separated, and then through the separation they reunite at the end. It's oh God's sake, so cliche. And let's not forget the end credits song. We are ordinary
early, and we can hold it like we are.
When the credits came on, I was like, what? What have they done to Ice Age? No.
The only bit I found funny was Granny, and she's like, ham and cheese. It's like, no, Granny, family. It's like, oh, shut up.
Yeah. Oh, Ice Age 4 is a terrible film.
And like when you have Manny dancing in the end, oh.
At least for the 5th one, it kind of made sense because his daughter was getting.
And it wasn't as cringy, the dance moves. He just moved his trunk kind of thing. But in this one, he's like legs were dancing up and down. And
I think it's worse that you see the actors' faces.
yeah, and you can tell they didn't enjoy that part at all. Like the ones who weren't singers.
Yeah, like Dennis Leary. Like, no.
Yeah, and, oh, we are stupid.
We are ham and cheese.
That for me was the worst thing in the Ice Age franchise.
Oh, it reduces it to a new low, desaturates it. I suppose you could say the music score is quite good. At the end, they reuse that theme from the second one, but when they find the new home, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's just the 4th one for me. It does nothing for the series. It reduces it to a new low, and it completely shits all over the first 3. And it just doesn't, like, the filmmakers gave up. They were like, fuck it, it's another one. Let's just make another one. That's when I lost interest in Ice Age. I was like, okay, I'm done with this series now. They had their chance. Fuck it. That just for the end credits song, but also the whole film was like, that was.
If I had to rate it on the end credits song, I'd give it like a 0 out of 10.
Yeah. I wouldn't go that far. It's not a 0 because there are things.
No, I said the end credits.
Oh, yeah, song, yeah.
Overall, I give the film about a 3 out of 10, just because there's not, apart from Granny and the animation.
Flynn.
Yeah, but even then, like, So he only has a few lines. He's not like they had too many characters.
Yeah. I thought at first it was James Gordon that voiced him, but then I realised, oh, it's Nick Frost. It's quite surprising.
I wish Buck was in it. It would have made the film so much better.
Because I'm sorry, guys, but a cameo just wasn't enough.
And it was a terrible cameo. He didn't say anything.
Yeah, you know, him on Rudy. Yeah, the scratch scenes were pretty embarrassing, to be honest. Even though the fifth one is a bit more ridiculous, the scenario, but I think the direction is a bit better. But we'll get to that in a sec. But forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I mean, I like Flynn. I mean, some of his lines are quite funny. Yeah. Oh, he's gone forever. Oh, here he is.
Yeah.
Here he is, Captain. If you go round Shipwreck Cove,
He is a funny character.
Yeah. The giant bag of pudding. When he's showing his arse in the camera. Oh god.
No, I'm shaking my booty.
Yeah. I can't see my booty. Where is it? It's all I can see. Oh god. Cringeworthy moments, horrible dialogue for the most part, horrible songs, just terribly directed, I have to say. Like, whoever directed the film, shame on you. And the writers didn't do much good either. So I'm going to give it a 4, because there are a few things I like, but that's not really saying all that much. And as for Shira, yeah, she's not really... I don't care about her, to be honest. She's not very a compelling character. She's only there to be a love interest, and it doesn't work. So,
There's no chemistry.
yeah, there's no chemistry. Like,
Very forced.
one thing I did find funny, though, was when Diego said, oh, I happen to be a remorseless assassin. Sid comes out with the bracelet. Diego, boo! He keeps losing them.
I love it when like she's like, "Don't call me Kitty." He's like, "Okay, Kitty," and then Granny's like, "If those two kiss, I'm gonna throw up." And it's just like,
What? No.
that's just exactly how I felt at that point.
Oh, God. Yeah. Oh, but yeah. So 4 out of 10 from me. So we move on to the 5th and what could possibly be the final film in this series, and the most recent film, Ice Age 5: Collision Course. Can't believe there's 5 of these films.
Soon to be 6.
Yeah. So I'll let you take over for a little bit now.
Well, when I heard they were making a 5th, I was very surprised. I thought the 4th was so unpopular that the chances of a 5th were just gone. If I'm completely honest, I was very happy, just because I knew it's probably not going to be very good, but anything, I would rather take anything as an end than the one we just had. So I was like, okay, maybe it can redeem itself and kind of have a go out with a bang kind of thing. Like,
yeah, because it was marketed as the final film, but obviously that might not be the case.
So I was like, as long as it can go out with a high, like, I'm fine with that. And I remember they just said it was happening, and they released the title, Collision Course, and I was like, okay, what does that mean? And I googled Collision Course, and it said meteorite, so I was like, okay, not really that imaginative, but okay.
I think the way they utilize it is quite interesting, how they say, even in the script, that it's a dumb idea, but there's a lot of self-referentiation with the scenario, with the plot, but which is so they kind of get away with it, I think, more or less.
Like, when I first heard it, I was like, oh, it's a bit dumb, but okay, I'm gonna give you some. I'm gonna like invest in this.
I thought, you know, at first I wasn't happy, but then I sort of started to realize, I started to see more of the trailers, and when the trailers come out, that was when I thought, okay, I'll give it a chance. I'll give it a chance. I wasn't happy with the 4th one, but I'll give you guys a chance.
I just remember like seeing the trailer, and it was like Scrat in space. I was like, as soon as he was in that UFO, I was like, oh, cool, it's UFO from the first film. But then, as he went inside and it went up in space, I was like, oh god, please don't introduce aliens, please, 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 for the love of God, no aliens. Like, if there's got aliens in it, that's it. Like,
No.
There's no going back. Luckily, there was no aliens, and the clip that they showed was quite funny. Really weird and a bit too. I thought Scrat in the spacesuit. I was a bit like. I was kind of like, It's better than I thought, but that's definitely ruined all chances. I was kind of like,
if you thought the fourth movie exhausted the scratch scenes, then this goes, this exhausts it even more. I mean, there are some of them are quite funny, but
it's a lot more entertaining. But like,
the scenario is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, like, I was like, oh god, this is it, it's ruined. But then the thing that made me really give it a second chance was on Twitter. They announced all the characters that were going to be in the film, and I was like scrolling through, and I saw Julie, and I was, oh, a male mammoth, maybe. Like, who's that? And then they had the dino birds. I was like, oh, that's really weird. They've got dinosaurs back, and I was like, oh, if only they had. And I clicked, and there was not Scrat, there was Buck, and I was like, yes, Buck's back. I was like, okay, this film, I don't care if it's terrible, I'm watching it. Buck's.
yeah, I have to see this. As soon as I saw Buck in the trailer, I was like, yeah, I've got to see it. He's back. Thank God for that.
But he's like, hello, mammals. I was like, yes. I was like, okay, this film, I'm going to give it all my good will and faith. I'm going to go see it. And I was watching the trailers, and they were promising, like, the whole algae of my eye sequence, and it was all looking good. And then they showed a scene where it's like the mariachi band, and I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit nah. And then I was so like, will it be good? Will it be bad? Will it be good? Will it be bad? And I saw it on Wednesday last week, and I was so surprised at actually how good it was. Don't get me wrong, it had a lot of flaws, like mainly just in the Diego and Sid subplots. The Manny subplot I thought was handled very well, and it very, very emotional in my opinion.
Considering it's the fifth movie now,
Yeah, I would say, like, for me it was probably the most emotional it's been in a while.
Since the second one.
Yeah, like, I thought the end scene where he lets Peaches go was very sad. But like sweet, like, I thought it was very touching. But I just wish they developed, like, at the beginning of the film you see Shira and Diego want to have kids, and it's very like, oh cool, like this might be actually pretty interesting. And then they don't mention it again until the very end of the film.
Oh, I bet you it'll be the plot for the sixth one. They'll carry it on for the next one.
And it's like and then it's the same with Sid. Like, beginning of the film, he wants love, and then like halfway through towards the end of the film, he finds someone. They agreed to get married in a couple of seconds. Then she turns old. Then they leave, and at the very end of the film, she comes back. It's like, I wish they developed This is my main thing. I wish the cast of Geotopia, the unicorns, the Shaggy-Lam, whatever it's called, Brooke, Teddy the rabbit. I wish they had developed a little bit more and spent more of the film inside Geotopia. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I mean,
give Brooke some backstory. Why is she there? How long's she been there?
Yeah, like, they're just there. Like, did they know what the asteroid or what happened?
And but bar that, it's very enjoyable. Buck's back. He has a great, like, they're singing in it again, and as soon as I heard Buck singing, I was like, oh god, is this going to be another shanty type song? But he actually was very amusing with his song.
Figaro.
Figaro. He's like, you might be Jurassic, but I am fantastic, so go back to where you came from. Like, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, the plot is very basic
and ridiculous.
It works, if that makes sense. Like, it's actually very enjoyable.
If you look past the lack of intelligence behind it, if you just appreciate, I mean, the movie makes a joke out of itself being dumb, so it knows that it's bad. It knows that it's dumb, and there's, like I said, there's self-referencing with that, and I think because of that, I was able to accept it more than the fourth movie, which took itself a bit more seriously. But I mean, this movie does take itself seriously. I mean, it has like great character moments, like particularly.
I think it's more real. I know it sounds really dumb because it is really ridiculous, and the plot is the most ridiculous I think it's ever been. But it's got a bit more realism. I know it sounds really stupid, but like the characters act like they used to be. Like,
yeah,
they're more of a herd. And if anything, this film sparked potential for me. Like, it kind of said, like, there is potential here if done right. This could be a great.
First of all, it's, to say the least, there's way too many characters now. They need to cut back on the characters.
I think they do kind of acknowledge that, and you kind of the end of Granny maybe. Like, she's kind of written out. And Buck is in. I think Buck's back, hopefully.
Yeah, because I missed Buck in the fourth one.
I think he saves this film.
Yeah.
I can't imagine this film without him.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this movie has great character moments. Like, you have, obviously, Manny and Ellie, you know, continuously trying to keep their daughter, you know, they're worried that she's, you know, that they're going to lose her and everything. That's nice. And the whole meeting Julian as, I think he's an interesting character. I mean, he annoyed me the first time I watched the film. I watched it again, and I thought, yeah, he's a bit better than I remember him, and his funny walk was entertaining. I mean, it's a bit annoying sometimes when he's always like, "Hey, bro, dad, yeah, woo!" He's like almost too cool. It's just like, you know, there's no sort of seriousness with his character. He's just a joke.
But I think that helps, like, us, like the audience, kind of we kind of get put in Manny and Ellie's shoes. And we can kind of agree with them that he is
Annoying.
Would you trust him with your daughter, kind of thing.
Yeah,
like,
I think at the end of the film he proves himself.
Yeah, like, to me this film is kind of like a really, if it is the end, then it's a good ending. Like, they bring back the theme from the first film. Everyone's got a love interest from the first film. Sid's finally got someone. Granny's got someone. Everyone's got someone. It's just so bittersweet, and like Buck again is back. He's got some great lines. One of my favourite bits in this film, there's actually quite a few that I laughed out loud at. Granny again.
When at the end when she turns young.
Oh yeah, even before that, there's like one of the scenes where she at the beginning where she says something like you marry them, you love them, you take half their stuff and you leave them. Like, that's my motto, and she kind of walks off.
Yeah, I love the part when you know, they think Buck's dead, and she's like, "Oh no, Buck, how are we gonna go on? All right, let's go."
It's like she didn't even know Buck. And it's like, I love the bit where she gets kidnapped by the Dino Birds, and she's like, "Angel, is it my time?" It's like, "Oh, what the hell is that thing?" And she's like, "Come on, I want to go see all my dead relatives I hate." And then she's like, she gets eaten by the dad Dino Bird, and she's like inside him like, "Ooh, this is dark in here. Oh wait, I see a light." It's, like, it's so cringy, it's funny.
I also love the bit when the bunny, you know,
Teddy, I think his name is.
Oh, I can't remember the bunny's name, but I can't remember the line that she says. But he's like, "Oh, that's what happens when you date a cougar."
He's like, "Whatever we had, it's over."
It's over.
He's like, "Oh."
Yeah,
at the end, when she turns young, it's like, I wasn't expecting it, but I kind of was. It's like, oh, I was so happy with it. It's hilarious.
I think it also moves at a better pace than the fourth one. It's just much more fun. I mean, even though the scenario is a bit more ridiculous, it's more fun, and that's all I want from this point. It kind of reminded me of the third one, but on a lesser scale.
Yeah, it's kind of like the third one meets the second one. Like, they have to get to point A to point B, like they do in the second, but with Buck, who kind of makes it mad. Like, when he's dressing up as like a woman, and he's like, "I'm fabulous." Like, he's like, "Don't trust that crazy weasel." It's just like, when he's like, "There's a child in there," and he like runs in, and like, they even make fun of the fact there's too many characters. Like, so it's like, "I can't count on my fingers." He's like, "Granny, Sarah, Peaches,"
Yeah.
and then like, then Granny says that really funny line about Buck, and then he like comes back and he's like, "Everyone, I want to introduce you to my daughter." It's like a pumpkin, and it's just like, what the hell is going on? Like, for me, one of the only scenes I didn't find that funny was when he took Eddie and Crash inside his mind, and there was all those other Bucks, and
that was a bit surreal.
At the cinema, that was the only time, and I kid you not, like, everyone was laughing their heads off at this film apart from that. It kind of went silent, but it was a bit too far for Buck. But the Dino Birds were weird villains.
Yeah, I mean, their plot was okay, but again, it was like again, it was dumb, and you know, the son kind of knew that, and it's Roger. I mean, you know, they were kind of unnecessary, but I suppose they were only there just to be an adversary at the start, and then, you know, I don't really know why they were there.
I think they were just there to get Buck back.
Yeah.
They needed to get Buck into it somehow.
Mm.
But I enjoyed them for what they were.
I don't think they should return again, but they're probably now part of the herd, aren't they?
I don't know. I think they probably won't be. I think there's too many.
Sorry?
Sorry, I just muted myself for some reason then. But no, I don't think they will be, but I could maybe see them having a cameo or something, like Roger, maybe. I wouldn't mind if he appeared for a brief moment or something, but
Yeah.
the other two were a bit forgettable. Brooke, on the other hand, like the ending, I thought it was a bit rushed. I would have preferred them to have a lot. I would have liked to have seen a bit more of Brooke's backstory and
Yeah.
what Geotopia was, like when did she join, like how old is she, and the
Yeah.
song with Brooke at the end, like the "You Make Me Happy" song. I thought it was really forced, but it was a lot better than "We Are Family." And I remember leaving the cinema sorry, not leaving the cinema, like during the cinema, like just waiting for the end to see if it was going to be as cringy as "We Are Ham and Cheese."
Yeah.
And I was like, but I enjoyed it.
I was like, you know, it has a good beat to it, and I was like, this feels okay. You know, this feels all right. Everybody's dancing, and, you know, it's not a cheesy reimagining of "We Are Ham and Cheese."
Oh god, if they'd sung that at the end, like she's like, Sid, I'd have just went like, no, and just ran out the cinema.
We are ham and cheese.
That's the new Bond theme.
I still think that lyrically, it's a bit like, what? Like, Sid, you make me so happy.
It's weird. It's just like,
It's only because Jessie J voiced.
You make me happy.
I think Jessie J actually did a surprisingly good job. I
enjoyed Brooke. I just wish there was more of Brooke.
She's a pretty decent voice actress. I mean, they made Brooke look really quite pretty for a sloth.
Yeah, I liked her design.
The wind beneath my fleas, the algae of my eye.
I love the way like the sloths are just so desperate. Like she proposes to him within like minutes, as like Sid did in the beginning of the film.
Will you be my mate for life?
Oh, you take away my lisp. Oh, I bet you say that to all the girls. No, they normally run away before I get to say it.
Oh gosh, I thought that proposal scene was quite funny at the start. You're nothing like your profile picture.
Yeah.
How is this clingy?
Like, she's like, it's not the ring. I like the ring. It's you. He's like, oh, Francine, you just start dating outside your species.
All alone is true love. Is that too much to ask?
And then there's a really cringy bit where he like puts his face in Manny's butt, and he's like, "Oh, Manny, your breath stinks." It's like, I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh god." I enjoyed the little hamster lemon things a lot more in this film. Like, I actually laughed at them a lot more. Like the scene where they're like Manny's like, "Oh, women," and Diego's like, "Women," and it's like, "Woman," and then like there's a Planet of the Apes reference when the meteorites hit, and it's like the statue of lemon liberty things that all smashed up, and then like the lemons on on the sandy beach, just like no. It's only for a brief like second. I don't know if you.
Also, the wedding scene as well. That was the quickest wedding ever.
Yeah, it's like I do.
I didn't think that they had to get married in Ice Age. I thought, oh, maybe they do.
It was a bit cringy, the whole like wedding. Like when I heard about the wedding, I was like, oh, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, it was a big surprise. I was like, okay, I didn't hate this movie. I thought I was gonna shred it to shit, but I actually kind of liked it. And having seen it again, I feel a bit more appreciative of it. It's by no means perfect. I think for me, Crash and Eddie had a bit too much screen time. And
Yeah, but I think after watching the fourth one, where they hardly have any screen time, I think they had a bit more development in this one, just because I think Buck brings the best of them.
I agree. I think the best of Crash and Eddie was in the third movie.
Yeah, and I think they redeemed themselves a lot more in this, although they were immature and stuff. That
I think the humor is very hit and miss. Some of it works, some of it is a bit too childish and silly. But overall, it's a very mixed bag. And for me, the scrap scenes, I mean, some of them are entertaining, but they are exhausted. They're like, you've run out of ideas with scrap. Like, that's it.
I found like some of the stuff I found really funny was like when he's like using the beam thing to get his acorn back, and he's like, yeah, it's like you see him like getting the acorn back, and oh, that's pretty clever. And then it pans out, and you see like he's dragging the moon with it, and it's like, oh god. Like, and then he like, yeah, it's just like, oh god, like the ending where he crashes into Mars and wipes out life, like that was quite funny. I would have preferred it if you saw him go back to Earth, because like in the sixth film, it's not really gonna be explained how he got back, but
yeah.
I think if anything, this film gave me hope. If there is, well, there will be. Now that we know they're making a sixth film, I just think if they spend time on it, there is hope. Like after the fourth one, I was just kind of like, it's dead. Like the characters, it's like they've gone way past what they should be. But the fifth one kind of said like, if they try hard enough, and I know they didn't try too hard on the fifth, or at least it didn't look like that. There is it was enjoyable and it was watchable, and
it was better than the fourth one.
yeah, like if anything I've taken away from this is if they do well when they make the sixth one, if it's anything like this, I'll be happy.
Yeah, I mean, by this point, all we want is a fun romp of a movie.
Yeah, just because I kind of it brings back a bit of my childhood each time I see it. It's kind of like you're catching up with old friends, if that makes sense, in a weird way. It's like I've grew up with these characters, and
yeah,
they're a part of who I am, I suppose. Like they're a big part of the childhood that I had. So,
say the first film sort of got you into animated films.
yeah, like those and the Pixar films. And to be fair, I've seen Finding Dory now, and to me, Finding Nemo was one of those films again. I used to love watching that again and again and again, but I don't get the same kind of thrill as I do out of the Ice Age sequels as I do like the Pixar sequels. Maybe for Toy Story 3 and 2 I did, but for like Monsters University and Finding Dory and, well, I never liked Cars, so I can't say Cars 2, but
Yeah,
like they just feel really forced. Although Ice Age, the sequels are forced, like they need to do it in order to make money because the studio doesn't really have any other franchises.
Rio kind of bombed, didn't it?
Yeah, the second one didn't do too well, although they are saying they're making a third. But regardless of that, like I kind of each time I see an Ice Age film, I kind of look forward to it, and it always, well, bar the fourth, it's paid off, if that makes sense. Like, it's like Finding Dory wasn't as rewarding as like Ice Age 2.
Was it a good film?
It was decent, but have you seen Monsters University?
Yeah.
It was like that. It was like it was good, but there was no need for it.
Yeah.
Dory, as much as I love Dory, she's not a lead character. She wasn't made to be, and it doesn't work. But that's for another day.
Is it better than Monsters University?
No.
No.
Not in my opinion, anyway.
So it's worse, or is it the same? Like,
it's not worse, but it's not a bad film. But
just didn't think it was really good.
It wasn't very original. It wasn't. It just felt more like a direct-to-video sequel.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah.
Like it's a good film, but the character of Hank the octopus was kind of just the same as Marlin from the first film, like grumpy and.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll talk about Finding Dory when I do my review, or we do a hangout or whatever. But yeah. So, until the sixth film, I mean, what did you think, like, about Ice Age Collision Course?
Um, well, apart from the reasons I've already said, not really much. I mean, I don't think it's anywhere near to being the best of the franchise, or
Oh no, not at all.
it's not the worst. I mean, that goes to the fourth one. I enjoyed myself a lot more than I thought I would. I was really worried, considering this is the fifth film now in the series, but I've always had an attachment to these films, or well, most of them. Um, I grew up with the first three when I was young, and I thought, okay, they're probably not going to make any more after this, but they just kept going and going. And now, as an adult, seeing the new one, it's weird because I was like 4 or 5 when the first one came out, so it's really amazing how far they've come. I do feel this the fifth one has kind of descended into a ridiculous sort of story, but I still think that its heart is in the right place. Unlike the fourth one, it's like, well, I mean, I suppose one thing you can always say about all of the films is that their heart has always been in the right place, but the fourth one, they didn't really know where they wanted to go. The direction in this is slightly better. I mean, it's ridiculous, but they have fun. And at the end of the day, with a story like this, that's all you want to do. Just have fun. It's a great sort of. This might sound weird, but for an animated film, it's like a popcorn, entertainment. Stick it on one afternoon, and you'll have fun.
Just like romp.
Yeah, it's like a romp. I mean, don't expect anything on the level of the first one because it's nowhere near as good as that. But I had fun. I was very surprised. I mean, there are things that I think are wrong with it, but I can sit through it and enjoy it. I mean, unlike the fourth one, which I just can't sit through. The fourth one bores me to tears, and I mean, as for the fifth, I think some of the character development could have been stronger. Some of the humor could have been stronger, but overall, it's a minor improvement over the fourth movie, and it's not as cringy as the fourth movie. I mean, there are cringy moments, but I laughed quite a bit, and I enjoyed myself. It brought a fair amount of nostalgia, and it has. I mean, obviously for future sequels, which they're probably going to do, I would say that I feel a bit more confident that they might deliver something a bit better than after I saw the fourth one. After I saw the fourth one, I thought, okay, that's it. They're done. They can't do any more. That's it. They've run out of ideas. But I was surprised. I was really skeptical when I heard they were doing this fifth one, and very worried. I thought, well, this is going to suck. And seeing the trailer, I was like, God, really? Space? But it's actually not that bad. And I think Buck does save the movie. So, yeah, overall, I think if I was to rate the movie, I'd say 5 out of 10. It's neither great nor terrible. It's just okay. And I think okay at this stage is fine for Ice Age. I'm not expecting anything more than okay. It's just have fun with it. Try and see past the bizarre, ridiculous scenario, and you'll have fun. I mean, you'll kind of have fun. That's all I can say. What about you? What would you rate the movie out of 10?
Oh, it's a hard one. I've seen it once at the cinema, and I do want to see it again. I probably will be seeing it again soon with my younger brothers, because I quite like to get their opinion on it as well.
I would say, yeah, give it a second watch, because I think you'll probably enjoy it slightly more.
Yeah, hopefully I do. Like, for me, this film was such a big step up from the fourth, but still, it was getting there. It was getting back to how it used to be. And I think Buck really.
It's not quite there.
It's not quite there yet, but I think if they for the sixth film, I heard they're bringing back the child from the first. So I think if they're doing that, there doesn't have to be a big disaster. They can have a nice, slow-paced, just story instead of like big. Make it more low-key, more small. It doesn't have to be the end of the world, the end of the universe. Just have a story about them reuniting with this kid who's now an adult or something. Just have a low-key, small, emotional story, and I think it will go back up to the state of the first and second and third films. For me, this film is the halfway point. For me, it sparked a lot more. It was just like, this is the potential. If we had a more developed story like this, and if this story was if they had spent another year or so on the story of this film, Collision Course, I reckon it would be just as good as the other sequels. But unfortunately, it's rushed. So
And it is a cash grab. You know, you
Yeah.
can't deny that.
they've said it themselves as a cash grab. Like, but I think it would have been a like Finding Dory and Cars 2 and Toy Story 4. They're all cash grabs, but they spend time on the story. I think they need to do that with these films. So for me, I'm gonna be kind, maybe a bit too kind. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10.
6.
Yeah,
That's fair enough. I think 6 is like passable. Like you're going to give it a pass and say
I think it's good. Like
good.
you said, it's a good film to just sit back and relax. And if it is the last film, then I'm quite happy that that is the film we get as the last film, because it does feel quite final.
Like yeah, the story does. I mean, with how Peter's getting married, it.
And just the end, like the bringing back the music from the first, and Sid finds love, and everyone's happy, and I'm fine with that being the end. Like, they've had a good run.
I agree. I wanted to ask you also, before we conclude, what do you think of the series as a whole up to this point? Obviously, because they're probably going to do more films, but the 5 films as they stand at the moment, how do you take them?
Well, I think the first film was very powerful. It established these great characters that have been like part of people's lives. Like everyone's taken them into their hearts. It was very original at the time. The animation was great. I think it's just one of those powerful stories. Like, you watch one after the other, and they're all great. They're all just great films. You sit down and watch on a Sunday evening or something.
Apart from one.
Yeah, like they're all apart from number 4, but for me, the Ice Age series up to 3 was great. 4 put a massive dent in the series, and it was this great ship sailing. Do it because like Ice Age 3 was one of the highest grossing animated films of all time, and then 4 just put a massive hole in the ship, and it started to fill with water, and it started to sink. But 5 kind of clogged up the hole. Still a bit of water pulling it down.
To overdrive, really.
Yeah, but it kind of clogged up the boat enough that if it has another good film with 6, it could repair this franchise. I kind of think this franchise can't go on forever, but at the rate they're going. But maybe we could have a couple of films every now and then, like every 10 years or something. Like,
I do think, though, if they're going to continue, I think theatrically releasing them won't be something that they'll carry on for much longer. They may have to.
I think they will, as long as they can, because that makes more money. But I think maybe doing more shorts, like the Easter special and the Christmas special, kind of like Toy Story did until they made the 4th. Like, have an Ice Age like Christmas special every year or something like that. Like short films.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to see where this goes. Actually, I look forward to it more than I did before.
I mean, it could go one way or the other, to be honest. I mean, with the reviews that they've been getting, I don't think they'll be going on for much longer. But
well, that's the thing. The critics don't like it, but the fans are loving it.
Well, yeah, because it's all kids, isn't it? The demographic. That's the thing with animated films.
But I'm saying, like,
the demographic doesn't care. They'll watch
Ice Age. I was looking at the Ice Age wiki, and these people are in their 20s, and they like have been seeing the film like 3 times a day, and it's people like that who are so dedicated to the franchise. That's why it keeps going, because they've already beat their budget for the film. So they've surprised that already, and it's already been out for like 2 weeks in America, I think. So although no one else wants it, people like the dedicated fans, they're the ones who keep bringing it back. So I think for the sake of Blue Sky, they need to move on, because they're just going to be known for one film and one film only.
Yeah, one franchise. I saw the first Rio, and I thought it was okay. It was. I didn't really get into it, but I thought
I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was alright. The second I didn't enjoy.
It was well made, but I wasn't compelled by the story. But the second I never saw. I heard it wasn't very good. So, yeah. I think it's because there's competition as well. They have to compete with other studios like Pixar and DreamWorks, and you know, it's now becoming, as I've said this before, you know, it's becoming a battle of, you know, sequels. It's like who can last the longest. You know, Ice Age at the moment is with 5 films. They're at the top with the longest running animated film series in terms of like CGI animated films. Like Shrek wants to beat that, Toy Story wants to beat that. You know, they're all going to just keep going, and it's, you know, I wonder if there'll ever be a day where audiences will just stop. But I don't know, because the thing is, the demographic is so centered around young audiences that they don't understand, and they'll just accept whatever's thrown on screen.
And I think parents will just take them to it because, oh, you like the first ones, let's go see the second. It's like Finding Dory. It's doing really well at the box office at the minute, but that's only because of the nostalgia from the first film.
Yeah, most films tend to do well nowadays. I mean, there's very few that sort of flop.
Yeah, I mean, even Ghostbusters, that like, people who see it saying it's terrible, but it's still doing well because people are seeing it just to be horrible, pretty much. Like,
yeah. I saw it. I mean, I didn't really want to see
I
it.
saw it too. I wasn't impressed.
I thought it was, yeah, like
I thought it was watchable, a lot more watchable than I thought, but I thought the humor was very, very bad. Like, it was a bit too sexual for me. Like, it was a bit too adult.
I think the cast were fine. They had good chemistry, and I think it will appeal to. I think a lot of female audiences will like it, and they'll really, you know, relate to the characters. But I mean, I've never been a fan of the Ghostbusters original film, so I can't compare it. I haven't really seen them, but
I was a massive fan of the originals.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Chris Hemsworth was funny, and I think there's a nice sort of sense of fun about it. Like you say, it's watchable, it's fun, but
it was just all over the place plot.
Yeah, it was a bit all over the place.
It could have done with
fun.
Yeah, it could. It shouldn't have been a reboot. Like, the original cast wouldn't come. Well, Bill Murray wouldn't come back for a third film, but he came back for this for like probably about 10 minutes in total, all his scenes together. And they could have easily have just used him for 10 minutes in the third one. They could have introduced the female character. Like, don't get me wrong, I had no problem with it being female cast. That was fine. It was just how they they kind of made the fact they were women into a big thing when it shouldn't have been. But anyway,
yeah, I mean, yeah, we can talk about that in another hangout. But yeah, I think you're right in terms of. Is there anything else you wanted to say before I interrupt you?
That's all right. Ice Age. I think the problem with Ice Age, like, continuing, is it's been a big part of people's lives, like, film-wise. Like you said, your family used to get takeaways and watch it or whatever, or it's one of those films that's very memorable. The first one, the second one, like, the first one was made in a time where animated, like, 3D animated films were, like, new, and there wasn't a big audience for it, and there wasn't loads of films. It was all new and fresh, so it was very original back then. But now they're just milking it to death. But I think it has hope. I hope it has. I'm hopeful for it now. But we'll just see where it heads.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I agree. I mean, I think as you say, the first film is a powerful film, and it genuinely, I think, blew audiences away. They were shocked. I mean, how simplistic the story is and how brilliantly they were able to tell it, and with such heart as well. And the characters were engaging. As the series has progressed, it's descended into absolute ridiculous scenarios, and it's there's still a sense of fun with the franchise. I mean, the fourth one sort of made me lose interest, but the fifth one's given me a bit more of a rejuvenation for it. I'm like, okay, I kind of like it, and it's never going to be the same as the first. They're never going to put as much time into it as they have before. They're clearly making money out of it, so they're like, oh, let's make another one. It's basically rinse and repeat. End of the world scenario. Which scenario can we do this time? That's really it. I mean, it's a shame to see it descend like that, but the only thing that really keeps me going are some of the characters, because I think they're so well done, and I think they're so likable, and they're all relatable in some way. So I mean, as in like the three leads. I watch it for them really, to see how far they've come in the 5 films. But I still think the other characters are fine. I mean, I think, you know, there's always been a sense of adventure, a sense of fun with all of the films, even the 4th one. But it's never. I mean, it's a shame. It does feel like now that they're just trying to compete with other franchises and say, "Oh, hey, look, we're the longest running animated film series. We have 5 films." You know that that's all it is. It's like, you know, and we're making sweet profit out of it because the demographic is so easy to be swayed. That gives them leeway. That gives them a lot of leeway, and it's something that is an issue with all animated films. But as the series stands, the filmmaking is fine up to a point, but then it just descends into absolute ridiculous. You know, they're like, you know, who gives a fuck? You know, we're just making money. Fuck it, who cares? And it's a shame because I think the cast are great, and I'm amazed that they've stuck with it this long, like 14 years. They've stuck with this series, or over that really. I suppose nearly 20 years of their lives they've been doing this, or the ones that have been in since the first one. But I think it's a good series, and I generally enjoyed them, watching them over the years. I mean, some more than others, but it's always going to stay with me, and it's at the moment the longest running animated film series with 5 movies. So I think you're right. There's a spark of potential if they are going to carry on, which they probably will. And they've got to do something pretty amazing in order to sustain, in order to get back on track. But I think, you know, they're fun. They're great fun, and I've had fun with them. And if this is to be the last one, then I'm happy. But if it isn't, I'm also happy. And that's my view on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Ice Age 6, here we come.
Yeah.
Lego babies, Sid and Brooke's wedding probably, and
Yeah.
Manny has grandkids, and
Yeah.
the baby's back.
Scrap probably ends up in another galaxy somewhere.
I think the next big disaster thing they could do, they've done meteors, they've done floods, maybe tsunami,
Well, they kind of had that in the 4th one.
True. Maybe an earthquake, a tornado, a alien invasion, like with actual aliens.
That's probably what they'll do. But it'll be ridiculous.
They go to the future. Time machine.
Time travel. They did a short film where Scrap time travels.
That's what I like. I think it's called No Time for Nuts.
Yes. Yeah. Remember that.
They should do more shorts, I think. But yeah, that's
it, really, guys. That's all. Sorry, this hangout's been quite long, but that's all we've got to say about the 5 movies of the Ice Age saga. As for how I'd rank them, I'd probably go. Number 5 would be Ice Age 4, obviously. Number 4 would be Ice Age 5. Number 3 would, again, these two could swap around. Ice Age 2 would be at number 3, and number 2 would be Ice Age 3. Then number 1 would be the first one. But I think 2 and 3 swap around for me sometimes. I never quite know which one I prefer. I think I'm slightly more akin to the 3rd one because I've always had fun with it, but I don't know. I've gotten onto the 2nd one as I've watched it over the years, but the first one will always be at the top.
That's fair enough. For me, I would have to say the worst is Continental Drift, followed by Collision Course, followed by Dawn of the Dinosaurs, followed by the Meltdown, and then the original is the best.
Yeah. Well, that's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. I am MrTardis11, and this is Louie B. Thank you for watching, and see ya.